Hello, everyone. Welcome into my latest live video, kind of an unscheduled opportunity. I thought we'd take advantage and talk about some of the recommendations that I have for you when you're looking for something to do. If you have a little time on your hands, it's a good time to do some updates. Now, on the bench in front of me, we have the mini PC we're reviewing. We reviewed it yesterday. We'll continue that review tomorrow, but we might use it for some examples today. I have a Nano KVM that has an update awaiting, and then I've got a router here from TP-Link that, well, I haven't plugged this in a long time. Well, since the last time it was on camera. I imagine it's probably waiting on an update. Now, even if you have auto updates turned on, you shouldn't believe it until you check it from time to time. Most of the time, when you have auto updates enabled, it will do what it's supposed to, but how would you know that it was doing what it was supposed to unless you check on it? So the frequency of that really depends on you. But for me personally, I like to audit anything automated on a regular basis, which will be at least every 3 months. I'll poke in and just take a look and make sure that everything is accurate. And I will manually check everything, and it should come back and say it's all up to date. I'll make a little note, usually like with Notepad or something, that for this client, I check their router, I check their NAS, I check their hard drive health status. Even though that's supposed to be reported to me, I do not trust that indefinitely. I don't want to find out something's gone wrong after something has gone wrong. I want to be able to identify something has gone wrong before it's gone wrong, whenever that's possible, which is more often than you might think. Every time I open a program, any program on my computer, it's almost like an obsession. I will check for updates. If it's Google Chrome, I click on the 3 dots, I click on About, I click Check for Updates. If it says it's updated, great. It will eventually update on its own, but I want to get it done. If it's Firefox, if it's Microsoft Office, I click File, Account, Check for Updates. Don't rely on those updates to happen automatically. Ignorance is bliss, right? If you haven't checked, then you don't know. Those updates are critical because the internet becomes more and more dangerous every day. And we have more to lose because people are just adding more data. Nobody's removing data for the most part. The data you remove, if you're removing any, is minuscule compared to the amount of data you're adding. So there's more to take, there's more to protect, and the updates are free. I use a file synchronization software. I check it for updates every time I use it. It comes out with updates almost every 2 days. What do these updates do? Don't know, don't care. I just want them so I don't need them later. And you don't have to be that obsessive about it. You could check it anytime you run the software. I run the software almost every day, but if you run the software, I don't know, once every 3 months, then check the software when you run it. Just click check for updates. Even software that checks for updates like OBS or other applications that check for updates at startup, how do you know they're still checking for updates at startup unless it gives you some verification? So you can go manually check for updates, and if everything's working like it should tell you have the latest version. No updates are available. No harm, no foul. It takes 20 seconds. So it's every single piece of software you launch on your computer, unless it's Microsoft Windows. Then, of course, you can hit the Windows Update button. The only thing you should be seeing coming through would be antivirus security updates, right? Those will always be updated constantly, multiple times a day. But as far as like any Windows applications that come with Windows, that will happen automatically through the normal Windows Update process, which is the second Tuesday of the month. Everything else you're doing, unless it's hardware. If it's a printer, I'd probably leave it alone. Sometimes updating the printers causes problems when you weren't having any before. So when it comes to the physical peripherals attached to the computer, I'm a little more leery about that. Now, if your router or your modem is provided by your ISP is taking care of those updates. It's part of what you're paying for. And if there's any problem, it's their responsibility to fix it. So even if they fail to update it, it's out of your hands. It's not your responsibility, and it's their responsibility to fix it. So if there is a problem, regardless of what the problem is, it's really none of your business what the fix is. You're paying them for a service. You call them if the service isn't working. If you're curious, it doesn't really matter because you're not allowed to touch it. You're not allowed to modify it unless you are specifically instructed by the customer support. And I would argue even then, apart from unplugging it and plugging it back in again, what are you paying for? Send somebody out. Let somebody else do it. That's what I pay you for. Get it working. I don't care what it is. Because you know what? It won't matter. Whether you know or you don't know, it's not your job. It's not your responsibility. And you play no role in the repair other than reporting it. Now, if your router is also provided by your ISP, that is also on them to maintain it. When it breaks, if it breaks, it's on them to repair it. It has nothing to do with you other than reporting it and then hands off. If you provide your own router or your own equipment, then it's on you. It's your responsibility to maintain it. And if it goes down, it's your responsibility to fix it. It falls on nobody but you. So stay in your lane, understand what your responsibilities are versus those you pay for service. And there's no sense paying for service if you're just going to turn around and do it yourself anyway. Just cancel the service, because if that's the way you are, you shouldn't be paying for a service. You're throwing money down you're flushing it down the toilet from my perspective. So anyway, you don't have to update everything, but it's a good idea that every time you launch an application, and I don't care who makes it, unless it's something that came with Windows, you should be checking it for updates. I use CyberLink Power Director for my video editing, and every single time I launch it, I manually check it for updates. I don't rely on automatic updates. I can't tell you the last time it automatically updated because I'm getting to it before the automatic updates are. Because whatever they fixed, I want it before I go to use the program. And that's an average about every 4 weeks. And the way CyberLink releases their update is you just have to download the whole program again and reinstall it. And it's an automated process. You just let it do its thing. It'll download this huge file. It overwrites the previous one, and then it's done, and you use it as normal. It might look a little different. It might not. And that's all part of what I'm paying for. It's part of the software. And I don't want to wait for it, and I don't want to wonder if I'm getting it. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate today, because just today they released an update on the Nano KVM. Now, they just had 2 weeks off in China. Most people did for the Chinese New Year. So a lot of things just stopped for the last 2 weeks. Thank goodness we're at the end of the month. Everybody in China is back to work and things can get back to normal. That means all the updates for the Nano KVMs paused. Everything coming out of China for the most part for the last 2 weeks has been at a dead standstill. It's been stalled. That's what they do on their holiday. So depending on which Chinese company, it could be a week, could be 2 weeks they take off. But in general, universally, everybody's back to work by now. As a result, new updates released today for this, not for the Pro, just for the regular. I've got 2 regular ones here, 2 different versions. And I guess what we'll do is we'll plug them in over here and we'll do the updates through the machine we're reviewing. And the TP-Link, I mean, I'm guessing it's had at least an update since the last time we turned it on, maybe not. How would I know? There's one way to know. That's to check it out yourself. I don't need to go on Reddit. I don't need to spend an hour and a half researching when it's 45 seconds to log in and check. All right. That's just the way I get things done. I don't want to sit there and read about it. I want to do it. Life is not a spectator sport. Okay. Welcome in, everybody. It is the 28th of February, 2026, as we close out February for this year. And let's see if I can get my chat room up here. Here we go. So we should be multi-streaming through StreamYard now on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. So anybody can watch us on any of those platforms live right now, including on their phones. There's a vertical version of this video also broadcast. That's a new feature StreamYard has offered. So if you see 2 live streams, if you're watching on your phone, one is intended to be in that 9:16 phone mode. And the main feed you typically watch on my YouTube channel is 16:9. So your phone sideways. So this broadcasts both ways. Pretty neat feature for anybody who likes that. And yeah, welcome in, everybody. It's good to see people starting to fill in the chat room on this last minute video that you were given no heads up to prepare for. Welcome to my world, man. When customers call me with problems, I never know when the calls are coming in, and I'm expected to take that information and resolve the problem for them without any prep, without any research, and without any idea that that call is even coming. So welcome to my world. This is what I deal with every day, and it's just another day for me. But if it's unusual for you, it gives you a little bit of a taste of the kind of work I do. And if you want to enter into this field, you learn to like that, because whenever that phone rings unexpectedly, that means you're getting potentially paid unexpectedly. A little extra money coming in that you didn't realize you were planning on getting. I got no problem with it, unless I'm busy, and then there's pressure. But a day like today, it's nice and slow. So just hang out and we can get some updates done. And you know, how important are the updates? It's really, there's one way to find out. Never get updates again, and then see what happens. Will you go a week, a month, a year, 5 years? I don't know. If you want to do that, you let me know. How many licks to the center of the Tootsie Roll? It's one of those things, to the Tootsie Pop. It's one of those things that you don't want to find out. So, well, this doesn't prevent all problems. I mean, nothing can. Life is chaos. Life is messy. If we take reasonable steps, we can reduce the frequency of the problems. We can take problems from one problem a week to one problem a year. It's that drastic. On the other hand, there are other problems that there's nothing we can do to avoid. If there was a power outage or a virus infection that an employee clicked on a link they shouldn't have or opened an attachment they shouldn't have, well, at that point, the milk has been spilled. At that point, we just need to clean it up and minimize the damage as quickly as possible. It's like you can play with matches all day long and never have a problem until you set the house on fire. And when that happens, that fire department needs to get there ASAP. People's, lives are in danger in that circumstance, but also the longer that fire burns, not only is there more loss, but there's also more cost. So recovery gets to be far more expensive and take a lot more time. So speed is critical on a last minute notice. And that's what this job is all about. Normally customers don't call when something's not important. Normally when they call, it is affecting their ability to continue working. It affects their ability to help their customers. And if their customers are impatient, they feel like, I'm not going to sit around and wait. The customers take their business somewhere else. So there is some pressure in doing this, but as long as you can maintain a nice balance of how much work you're getting and how much money you're earning versus how much pressure you're taking on. My philosophy has always been to grab it while it's there, because there are slow periods. We get into a feast or famine mode where either there's more work than I can handle and it's overwhelming, or there's nothing. So I'll take it while it's coming and I'll stack it up and I'll go through it as quickly as I can, doing it right the first time. That keeps the customer happy. That keeps me helping more customers, which brings in more money. And as long as the customers aren't waiting too long, I don't lose the customer because they got impatient and took their business somewhere else. Then I stockpile that money and I say, okay, it's a little nest egg for when things get slow. And sure enough, things get slow, and they might get slow for a week. They could get slow for a month. And then at that point, you can sit there waiting for the phone to ring if things continue to be slow, or you get off your butt and you start knocking on some doors and you start making that phone ring. Usually I can just sit by and just let it be. But if things are slow for an extended period, I'm not going to lie to you, I get worried. But if I get worried, I do something about it. I'm not a helpless victim where things are happening to me. You understand what I'm trying to get at? I make things happen for me. If they're not happening automatically, I'll go make it happen. So if you have that kind of an attitude, if you can wrap your head around that and it makes sense, you'd be great to be self-employed and have control over your own destiny and to manifest the work you want. If you just want people to make decisions for you and say, here's a pile of work for you to do, and here's your regular paycheck, and you have no control over how much money you make, and you've got to be in an office from, beginning of the day to the end of the day, 5 days a week, whatever it is, you're not really making any decisions. You don't really have any control. For some people, they like that. They think, oh, that's a lot less pressure. Let me just sit in my cubicle and do my work. I don't care. Then I have a steady paycheck I can count on. That's fine for those people as well. There's nothing wrong with that. It just doesn't work for me. Nothing worse than, you get your job done on time, but your coworkers don't. So your reward is to go help your coworkers and get them caught up. So they're actually rewarded for not keeping up, and you are punished because not only did you keep up, but now you're going to get additional work that was actually assigned to somebody else because they've fallen behind. Welcome to corporate America. That's your reward. You work too quickly, you're going to get more work. You work slower, maybe somebody will come in and help you and do your work for you. It's a political game I don't like to play, but it's something that a lot of people, for whatever reason, fall on one side or the other, and that works for them. It just doesn't work for me. Now, I think what I want to start by doing is just very easily update these. Again, many of these do self-update, but I don't want to wait on automatic updates. I don't want to trust without verifying. Without verification, we can't have trust. We can have trust for a little bit, but I need to verify. So when the stray cat comes in the house and I'm keeping an eye on the cat because I don't trust her and she's not doing anything wrong, I won't be such a helicopter person, you know, hovering over her and micromanaging her. I'll say, okay, let's see if I just leave her alone for a couple hours and check back, still no problems. Okay, let's see if I leave the house, go run an errand and come back. I come home, I look all over to see if there's any problems. No problems. In fact, it doesn't even look like she moved from where I left. We start building trust, right? But I don't trust her 100%. I don't trust anything in this world 100%. I need to see verification from time to time, but the auditing, how often I'm checking depends on what it is and what I'm worried about. So over time, that auditing will happen less and less and less. And when it comes to clients, because I'm responsible for the system to be up, I'm not waiting for there to be a problem. I want to do everything I can to audit regularly, no matter what, and never, ever, unlike the cat, you know, that I can start to rely on her choices and what her lifestyle. When it comes to a client, I don't know if a hard drive's failing. I don't know if the backups are happening. I have to regularly check it, because if I don't, I might find out too late it hasn't been working for some time. You know, I had a client that I had asked when I was giving them sort of an audit of their office to see if I could help them, to see if we might be a good fit. I asked what they did for backups, and they pointed me to a computer in a back room that had a tape. This was years ago, had a tape drive in it. And the tape drive was running. Buzz, buzz, you'd hear it rewinding and fast forwarding, buzz, buzz. That's our backup. I go, well, how often do you change the tapes? Tapes? Change tapes? Okay, so strike one, we got to deal with this. What software is it using? I don't know. Well, let me look at it. There's no software running on this. So what's it doing? It's not doing anything. It's just rewinding and rewinding. Why? I don't know. This hasn't made a backup in years. You guys don't have a backup. You have the illusion of having a backup, but nobody's ever checked it. So whatever it's doing, I have no idea, but it's not recording any data. It's not reading any data. It's not recording any data. Well, how's that possible? I don't know, but we'll put that on the list. We'll resolve that. We don't use tapes anymore. So it really doesn't matter, but it's important for you to know you have no backups, and you haven't had backups for quite some time. That's all I can tell you. I don't know anything else about it. So that's the kind of circumstance we never want to encounter. And if I don't want to encounter it in an office, I don't want to encounter it at home. And I would assume you wouldn't want to encounter it at home either, would you? But some people choose to be reactive and some people choose to be proactive. And I am trying to make a profit in my business, and that requires me to be proactive. If you're too reactive too often, your customers are going to think you don't do anything, right? If it's one emergency after another, they're going to get sick of you. Like, why do we keep having you come over here and fix things constantly? Don't you ever fix anything permanently? On the other hand, if nothing ever breaks, then the customers may sometimes say, oh, why are we paying you? Nothing ever breaks. So that's a delicate balance that we have. And it's sort of like, why do I pay an insurance company if I never had a claim? Just wait till you have a claim and you'll understand. What if you never have a claim? Well, I guess you can look back on it and say, I guess I didn't need the insurance. But how are you going to know that? It's like picking the winning lottery numbers. You can look back at the lottery numbers from last week and know what the numbers are. what good does that do you today? All right, so let me plug this in real quick and let's do the updates on the Nano KVMs. Those are real easy. I like to just get them done. And the update just came out today, as a matter of fact. So let me grab, let's see, HDMI. We'll plug in over here. We're also taking your questions. If you have questions for me, if there's any particular problem you're trying to resolve, I'll do my best to point you in the right direction or give you an answer for that if I can. And always check our community as well, because we have very smart people in our community that will also likely be able to answer your question as well. All right, I need a keyboard and a mouse. Actually, do I? No. We can go right through the KVM. Let's just do it that way. So let's grab, we don't need this HDMI cable here. So we don't need that. We'll use the KVM instead. So just the HDMI on the KVM. That's going to give us our video right through the browser. No software is required. And then the USB port is going to give us our power and control our keyboard and mouse through the streamer over the network, over to this machine and display in our browser. Again, with no software and no subscriptions, it just works. Now, this can be done over the internet too. With this unit, you'd use a free service from GitHub called Tailscale. Tailscale is a free encrypted VPN to connect two devices securely through a VPN tunnel that is secured for free as a community project in GitHub. It's all open source, and you can look at the code and verify it's not doing anything bad. And of course, depending on your level of technical ability, you can participate in developing the code to add more features. But it's really, really easy to use. It's completely free. We don't need it because we're not going to access it over the internet. We're just going to access it here on the local area network and just keep everything simple. So the last thing I need to do, this is not Wi-Fi. So, and this isn't, I don't have the Wi-Fi on this. So we'll plug, like if I want this to have internet, I need to give it internet. Okay. But I want you to think of this little white box as a little computer, because that's what it is. Think of it like a little Raspberry Pi computer. And so this also needs internet. But other than that, the only thing we're really plugging into the mini PC is power, Ethernet, and then the USB and the HDMI for our remote. And then the remote needs an internet connection if we want to access it over the LAN. Now, the Nano KVM Pro does have Wi-Fi. If you want to skip that cable and you buy the different model, then that 2 cables is all you need on that model. So let me grab one more Ethernet cable here and we'll plug this in. And then I need to get power. This is going to get power from this. This needs to get power from the wall. So I'll grab my power cable. Now on some computers, as soon as I plug it in, some computers USB power will enable, and then the screen will light up on the KVM. This one's not doing that, but the minute I turn it on, a little blue power light comes on right here, and then the screen will fill with information. And we'll give that a minute to boot into Windows. Brian Weber said he just got a Minis Forum M1 Pro 125 delivered today. Windows Update running right now. Ooh, exciting times. You're going to love that computer. Well, you tell me. I don't want to speak for you. When you have some time to play with it, you let me know what your thoughts are. Okay, so for me to access this, and because I'm in StreamYard, things are a little different here, so bear with me for a second, especially if you're on the vertical feed. This probably isn't going to look good for you. But we're going to go over to the browser. I'm thinking out loud here. So if I go over to the browser and then do a window capture on the browser, now StreamYard should be capturing my screen. And then if I go to nanokvm.local, that should attach me to the remote the little white box. Connection refused. I might be a little impatient and that this may not have booted up yet. So the other alternative, instead of trying to pull it up via the DNS name, is I can just look at the IP address displayed on the screen of the little white box. It says it is 192.168.6871. And I typed it wrong. 192.168.6871. How about that? Am I doing it twice now? This site cannot be reached. Maybe let me see. 192.168.68.71 looks correct. Let me try another browser tab here. Sometimes Google's Chrome cache gets in its own way. If I click the three dots and let's see, we'll go to help and check for updates. Click about Google Chrome. We are up to date. That makes me feel good. Okay, so what is happening here? 192.168.6871. That should get us to the login page of the Nano KVM. And I think I'm having a browser caching problem. And the way I can tell would be to simply open up Edge. So I'll go down to the taskbar and I'll type in the word Edge. And then what I need to do over here in OBS is tell it I want to capture Edge. So we got properties, Microsoft Edge. See, now when I started Microsoft Edge, we get the update complete. Let's see here. Click next. Let's go full screen. And let's try this. Nano KVM.local in Edge. Yeah, so it is a Google cache problem, a Google Chrome caching problem. It happens because I have a lot of Nano KVMs and it thinks they're all the same. But that's okay, not a big deal. So Nano KVM is my login name, and then Nano. And that should show us the display. Hold on a second. Nano. Wrong login name. There we go. Okay, so now I am connected to the mini PC through the browser of the streamer. And up here, there's a little blue dot. And that informs me that there's an update waiting. So if I click on settings, check for updates. It says we're up 234. We're going to go to 235. I hit confirm. This is going to download and install that update. And then the little white box here is going to reboot itself. It takes about 30 seconds to reboot. And then we can reconnect. We'll have to re-log in again. And that one's done. And we can do the next one. I mean, it's that simple. And there are ways, of course, to clear the cache out of Chrome and force that to work. But, again, I'm trying to get things done quickly, and I don't want to sit there and fight with something if I just use something else. If that'll get it done, we move on. So now when I log back in, that's the whole update. The blue dot is gone. We'll check for updates again. And should verify that 235 is the latest version. That's done. Okay, so now if I come back over to OBS here, let me go back to camera 1. And let's, we'll do the same thing with this one. This one doesn't have a screen. So we'll unplug, we'll leave this on. We'll unplug the USB and we'll unplug the HDMI. This one's updated, so we'll set it aside. And now I will plug the cable into this one. This is the Nano KVM Lite. And I will plug in the USB. There's no particular order if you want to do the HDMI cable first or the USB cable. Either way, they just both need to get plugged in. There we go. And then that's going to take a second to fire up. So let's jump back over to my Edge browser right there. And then we'll go to, oh, there we go. It's automatically restarted it. So Nano KVM, Nano, and it should be exactly the same. I should get a blue dot up here that informs me, but you have to understand that it may take a minute for the server to automatically go and check on itself. I don't want to wait. Now I could sit here and wait until that eventually shows up, or I can just manually go to check for updates and force it to check. It says you have the latest version, 234. Now that's interesting because that, wait a minute, something was cached. Let's do this again. Okay, we're logged back into the mini PC, again through the browser. We'll click on settings and check for updates. There it is. So in this case, it's just me being impatient that it's still negotiating with the network while I'm still trying to connect. And that's why it kicked me out and made me log back in again. So, you know, obviously when you're checking for things, I'm assuming you've already got it on. For me to turn it on and then wait for it to boot, I'm impatient. So that causes me to take twice as much time. I get to do it twice. So we just leave it alone, let it go ahead and do its update, and then it'll automatically restart. And it needs us to re-log in. Just like if you had a login at Windows and you restart Windows, it'll require you to log in again. And now we'll go back over to check for updates. And it verifies we have the latest version. Okay. Might want to go full screen on that. This is an amazing little device for 40 bucks. It's incredible. But let me go back to, let's go back over to camera one. Okay. So with that being done, let me unplug this and this and this. We can leave that on for now. It doesn't matter. These two devices are good to go. They're all updated. I'm going to just set them off to the side over here. And then we'll take a look at this router. Now, if you haven't checked your router, and again, if you're paying for your modem / router from your ISP, this is not your responsibility, and I recommend you leave it alone. But if you've provided and purchased your own router, then this is your responsibility, and I don't see any downside to checking. So let's grab, I need a power cable here. And this one uses the same power cable I'm using over here. So for this, how do I want to do this? I think I will, I'm going to shut this off. I'll just tap the power button and then that should cycle through the power off cycle, no differently than hitting start and shut down. And in just a moment, you'll see the power light should, I think, go off. It's tough to do it without seeing. It looks like maybe I put it in sleep mode because it's blinking now. Let me tap it again. And that may be a setting in Windows when I press the power button to tell it to go to sleep versus tell it to shut down, that I will have to go and change, because normally that's the same. It should just shut off. So the blinking tells me it's going to sleep. Now for this, because this is an evaluation unit, I'm not worried about properly shutting it down. You should be on yours, but this is not a production machine and it'll be fine. So we're going to grab that power cable simply because I don't want to unravel that one. And then I'm going to go ahead and steal this Ethernet cable too, because we're going to need some Ethernet, some network for this to check itself. Now, I already have a router. You probably just have one, so you don't have to go through this step. Presumably this is already done on your side. But let me grab, let's see here. Put that right here. We'll turn the power on. And in just a minute, we should get some activity lights or something on this thing. And these fancy routers, they can take a good minute or two to boot up. So again, patience is critical here. Then what I'll do once this boots up is I need to find it on the network. And a couple ways I can do that would be to either plug a computer into it, which is probably the easiest thing to do. And for me to do that means I'm going to have to turn this back on and plug it in over here to the streamer. And then from here, I can access this, only because it's a little bit more complicated for me to be using a router and then show you a demo router using both routers at the same time. You likely wouldn't have to worry about any of this. You have just the one router, and the computer that you've got plugged into it is what you would need to log into your router. If you don't know your router's login, sometimes there's a sticker or something on the bottom. Or what you can do is you can open a command prompt and you can type in ipconfig and look what your gateway is. And it'll say your gateway is, 192.168.0.1, whatever it is. And then open your browser and type that in. And that should take you right to your router's login page. So worst case scenario, that's the old default and how we used to check, and it still applies today. So I guess that's what I need to do. So we're going to plug this one back in, I guess. But I don't want to plug it into my main network. I want to plug it into the router. So I'm going to grab a little patch cable here. Thankfully, I've got them right over here to the side. And we'll just go from any of the ports on the back of the router. I could also configure it for Wi-Fi, but I can't be bothered for a demo. You know what I mean? So we'll plug that in. So now this one cable connects these two things together. And, well, I'm going to be back to needing that power cable again, aren't I? So unfortunately, I'm going to have to unravel another cable. It won't kill me. I'll do what I have to do, and I'm trying to avoid doing what I don't have to do. So since this has become clear, I now must do this. It's an easier pill for me to swallow. I just don't like wasting my time and doubling up my efforts if I don't absolutely have to. And that is an awfully short cable. Let's see if it'll reach. Go down here. I need a keyboard and a mouse right here. So we'll plug that in. Now, could I also do this with the Nano KVM? I could, absolutely, yes. But the more stuff we add, the more complex this is looking. And honestly, it's a pretty simple process, and I don't want to overwhelm you with complexity. I'll let the nerds do that. There's plenty of that online. I just want to keep it real, keep it human, and use common sense. Now, the last thing I need is HDMI, and that'll go right here to the streamer. Just like this. Plug HDMI in. So now, in order for this to get internet, it has to get it from this. And this is getting internet instead of from my ISP. It's getting it from my other router. That's where things get a little wonky. So don't worry about any of that because it won't affect you. We'll go ahead and turn this back on. Let me jump over to my screen capture now, which should be the HDMI input over here. Let's bring that up. All right, and you see that we're booting. Here we go. And let's take a look at, let me go full screen on this so I can see it. Full screen. Okay, now I can see it the way you guys get to see it. So if I want to know what how to access this router, sometimes there's like a web address you can type in, like a DNS name on modern routers. But again, no matter what, you can always go old school. You type in command prompt, CMD, press enter, type in IP, Internet Protocol config, short for configuration. And it says it's 192.168.1.1. Yeah, that sounds right. So let's open a browser. Start without data. Continue. Okay. Get all the marketing out of the way for our first run here on this new computer. 192.168.1.1. And that should take us to the TP-Link router login page. Log in with a local password. Now, I can't remember what I set the password to. Is it password? Let's see. Let me jump over here. Password. Can't remember. This is my password. I really should get a post-it note and write it down because it's been months. If I pull back the last time, if I go back to the video library to the last time we used this, I could see what I set it to. But what else would I have changed it to? This is my password. No? Huh. This is, I got to hack myself. This is my PA55WORD exclamation point. No? Oh, I don't know what it is anymore. I have 3 attempts left. Okay, well, in situations like this, and again, I want to remind you that we don't have anything important on this router. We don't have any configuration. So normally you would know what your password is, right? And there could be a password written on the bottom of this that's being used for all I know. But here's what I can do is on the back of this, there's a reset switch. Now, if you've got your router all configured, you've got port forwarding and your SSIDs and your Wi-Fi all set up, I hope you remember how to put all that back. This is what happens when you forget your password. Because it's an unused product, it's irrelevant. So resetting it, there's nothing to be lost. It just puts it back to defaults. You can use a paper clip, or you can use like a SIM card removal tool that many cell phones come with. You should save that tool. It can come in handy for situations like this. And depending on the device, there are occasions where the SIM card removal tool may be too short, but you'll know if it fits in there if you feel something or you don't. Somewhere in this drawer, I should have a SIM card removal tool. And the problem with this particular drawer is that everything slides forward every time I close the drawer. So me locating that removal tool may be a little bit more of a challenge. Or just grab an ordinary paper clip and straighten it out. Oh, I know what else I can use. I have probe tools. And probing tools, like something similar to like what your dentist uses. Let's see which thing I can find first here. Here it is. Also, a toothpick will work in a pinch. Whatever you have laying around. So this is just a typical, very sharp pointing tool. This will go right through your hand if you're not careful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press in the reset button here in the back, and I'm going to hold that in, and we'll probably see the lights go out. 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it stopped. I think I can let go. Normally about 10 to 20 seconds. Every device may be a little bit different. Some require you to have the reset pressed in when you turn it on. So you can look through your documentation or go online to the manufacturer's website, pull up the PDF file. It's not a secret. A lot of these are all kind of the same. So I'm just guessing, and I'm going to guess that's probably going to work. So as the light is changing color there and you see it's red and such, it's resetting back to factory settings as though I'm taking it out of the box for the very first time. And it will require me to set a password again. This time when I put it away, I'll stick a Post-it to it for next time. These routers, I don't use them anymore, but you never know. So they just sit on a shelf, and this could all be for nothing if there's no updates on this. But I'll be shocked if since the last time we turned this on, there hasn't been. How else am I going to know? And I need to know the password eventually anyway. So we're going to cross that bridge sooner or later. I wait till I need it. I don't worry about, do I know the password until I need it? Then I'll deal with it. And then if I have to deal with it and it's a struggle, I'll make sure that that never happens again, like putting a Post-it note on it. It's very easy to avoid making the same mistakes. Once you acknowledge your first mistake, make sure when you're done, that you're going to repeat the same behavior. I promise you. You're going to pull this out. Let's take me, for example. If I pull this out in another 6 months to do another review on it, do you think I'm going to remember this video and what I'm saying? You know how many videos I will have made since then, and how many other people I would have talked to, and how many other passwords I will have set? Sure, I remember it now, and I might fool myself and say, oh, that's easy, I'll remember it. No, I won't. I will go right back through the whole process. If you are honest with yourself and you were true to yourself, then you know not to trust yourself other than to repeat exactly what you're doing. If you're looking for something, in the first place you look for it, it isn't there, then that should be the place you put it from now on. So if I'm trying to find some batteries and I'm like, where did I put the batteries? In the first place I think I would have put those batteries will always be the first place I go back to after a few weeks have passed, and I will have forgotten. But my instinct of where would I put that, that will always be the same. That tells me where to put it. So when I find the batteries and I'm done with them, go put them over into the first place I looked. Because when I'm looking for them again, that will still be the first place I looked. Even if I tell myself, oh, no, they're over here instead, I likely won't remember that. That's how I got to this whole situation to begin with. You think that's going to stop? So rather than fight yourself, go with your instinct and learn from yourself and realize and acknowledge and be self-aware of your own behaviors and use that to help yourself. If this is where I went, that's where I'm going to go again. So if I'm looking for my car keys and I'm not putting my car keys in the same place every time, then I'm always going to be looking for my car keys. Okay. And there's probably some place I'm always checking that they never are. That's the place I need to put them. The answer for yourself is always right in front of you if you acknowledge it. And if you hack yourself, you'll learn how to behave or acknowledge your own internal behaviors and instinctual behaviors to take advantage to hack yourself so that your life becomes easier once you realize your instincts are always the same versus trying to retrain yourself, which is also possible, but you're working way harder than you need to. That's my view on it anyway. Now it looks like, I don't know, we got a red light. Is this still resetting? I don't know. Let's jump back over here and let's just take a look at what's going on. One of the first things I want to check and see, let's go full screen. For me, you guys are already full screen. And let's refresh this page because I don't think it ever refreshed. Let's see what it does. And I want to make sure I'm connected to the network, right? That tells me the router has given us an IP address. And let's go back down here and run another IP config and see what it did. Now it's saying 192.168.0.1 instead of 1.1. Did you notice that little difference? So the reset defaulted it back to the factory. Now this should be a first time setup as though we've taken it out of the box for the very first time. This is also what you'd want to do if you were selling the router to somebody and you wanted to wipe it, or you know, say you're trading your cell phone in, you want to do that secure erase. That's what this does. So I can see the problem here. The password's got to be between 6 and 32 characters. So I'm going to, what was the first thing I tried? I'm going to put it back to that. This is my password, and I'll use the number 5 for the S and an exclamation. And we'll come down here and we'll type it again. This is my PA55WORD exclamation, and we'll click Let's Get Started. And yes, I will make a little Post-it note and I'll write password, and I'm going to write it down and stick it onto the side, and we'll never have this problem again. Select my time zone, -7, say Arizona right here. Next. Yep, that's correct. Next. Auto detect. Next. Next. Right, pretty much just stay with all the defaults. I'm going to just leave all this alone because, again, this router is not normally plugged in or used. And if it were, I would go through the SSID and password. If you leave those alone, though, they'll match the sticker on the bottom, though. So you'll always have that. If you're going to change it, you should put your own little sticker on the bottom, or however you take notes. So right now it's just testing our internet connection. It's probably smart enough as a modern router to know we're plugged into another router and to not do double network address translation. But again, for you at home, you probably just have the one router. And so either way, the end result I'm showing you should be the same. Okay, keep your router update. Turn on auto update, recommended. When do you want to update the router? Between 3 and 5 a.m., sure. Hit next. And usually part of the setup process is to have it check for updates. This is a summary of everything we've set up. And I'm just going to say, yeah, we found another router. Modern routers are intelligent. We're just going to say none of the above and just leave it be. And skip this. So I don't need a TP-Link local account. We're going to skip that too. Okay. Firmware update has come up automatically because we're going through a first-time setup. But what if it didn't, or what if we wanted to check? So what I can do is close this out, and let's just pretend. We'll just hit not now on this. Close all this out. So normally when you log into your router, you get whatever your router login page looks like. And typically it's under administration. So we don't have an administration menu up here, but we have advanced. And then under advanced, if we scroll through all these options, there's probably something about administration. Let's see. System. Maybe it's under system and then firmware update and auto updates turned on. The update time, I mean, I would probably have that go between 2 and 4 a.m. personally. And we would check for updates. Now it says we're using version 1.16. And as you can see, there's been a number of updates, but we don't need all the ones in between. We only need the latest. So if I hit update, it's going to use its own internet connection to download from the mothership from TP-Link, the latest firmware, which is going to add features, usability, as well as security to this router. And we just leave it alone. You will temporarily lose your internet access. So anybody else on your network, like at an office building, we don't do this during business hours. It will kick everybody off the internet, interrupting their work. It'll take their phones down if they're VoIP phones. So we do this after hours, or depending on the size of the office, we tell everybody, save everything you're doing and just stop. You don't have to shut the computer down. I just need you to stop. We're going to update the router and we will tell you when you're back you can get back to work. Just don't, save what you're doing as a precaution. Leave everything open you're working on. Don't close anything. Don't shut anything down. Just stop. Don't touch your keyboard or your mouse. I'll be back when I'm done and I will tell every employee it's all green, back to work. Let me know if you have any problems. So to avoid all that, we wait till after hours. And I can log in remotely and I can do this remotely. And as it's doing this remotely, I will lose my remote connection just as though I were an employee. I will lose the internet access, but the router still runs the update and it will reboot and reconnect. And then my remote internet will reconnect when it's done. That's a little bit scary because you're flying blind, but essentially there's nothing for me to do, whether I can watch it or not isn't making a difference in the work it's doing. So that's why I can do this remotely after hours at a business. I don't have to go in and interrupt their work. And in most cases, I check it and it says I'm up to date. And I do that after hours too. And I'll make a note for the business. I have my own notes and I say, the last time I checked the router was this day, 2/28 of 26, for example. That's how we do it in America, month, day, year, or 28/2/26 everywhere else in the world, right? Day, month, year. But you have your own system. I have my own system. And then what I do is I'll just keep writing down the next time I do it. So there's a history. If the customer says, what do you do? Why are we paying you? I can show them this notepad and say, look at all the work I've done. I've checked this router for updates 17 times in the last 2 years or whatever it's been. And you don't know any of that's going on. The business owner has no idea. It's just everything works. Now, as you can see here on the screen, we have an interesting wallpaper coming from TP-Link on their page here. And the machine itself should be rebooting right now, the same as if we turned it off and back on again. but it's all hands off. It's doing this on its own, sort of like a BIOS update, right? Just leave it alone, let it do its thing, and it'll restart. And we should get back to the login page when it's done. I'm going to just keep this running live so you can see the process in real time. If you want to replicate it, I don't want you to panic that you think it's taking too long. That will often cause problems by impatient users who won't leave it alone. If I ask you to do something and then I hound you, is it done? Is it done? You're probably going to get fed up with me and say, leave me alone and let me do what you asked me to do. You're in the way. So don't be that guy. Don't ask the router to do something and then get in its way. Leave it alone. Give it the time it needs. And if you're, well, how much time should it, when should I be worried? Well, I'm showing you live in real time for this particular router, which is pretty high end. And the more fancy your router is, the bigger the firmware is, the longer it takes. If you have a very simple basic router, it's probably a much faster process. So this is almost like a worst case scenario. There's usually lights you can look at on the router that will indicate when it's back to normal. Typically the page that we're on here will auto refresh. And I kind of expect it to refresh by now. And I can't see the front of the router because it's facing you guys, but let me turn it around and see if I got any lights happening here. I mean, I see a red light. It should be blinking blue, whatever the normal colors of your router. If you don't know the normal colors of your router, take a picture of it with your phone before you start. And then you have something to compare it to. But ultimately, it's probably just an issue of you being impatient. Most times you do not have to override it. Most times you do not have to do anything but wait your turn. Now, if I wanted to, if I was just curious, is this ready yet? Instead of focusing on the router, you can just refresh this page just to see if the login comes up. If for some reason your router is not auto refreshing the page, you notice it's going to TP-Link Wi-Fi net. That's an alternative to typing in the 192.168 address. So if that IP address is changed, right? So by me refreshing it, it is waiting for me to log in. It just never refreshed correctly. But yes, this router, you could go to tplink.wifi.net, or we could type in the address, right? The last time it was 192. It's the same thing. Now we're going to go here and we'll type in, this is my password. Okay. That should log us in. Everything's happy. I don't want the cloud service. I'm going to click on advanced. I'm going to go back down to system. And I'm going to go to firmware update. And I'm going to check for updates, even though I just did it. I'm going to check it twice because it happened awfully quick. Firmware is up to date. That's what I want to see. Now I believe it. I'll make a note. It's the February 28th of the 2026. That's the last time I checked it. Okay. So if we're in June and you guys asked me in the chat, hey, when was the last time you updated that TP-Link router? I'd be able to look at my notes. I wouldn't have to look through my videos and I'd say, oh, that was the February 28th this year. Don't you think it's time to check? Yeah, if it's been more than 2-3 months, I would say it's time to check. That's my philosophy on it. With that being done, we can log out and everything's good to go here. And again, if your ISP provides your router to you, this is your ISP's responsibility. It is not your responsibility. Okay. When my customers have a problem, I want them calling me, not calling the ISP. That's what I get paid to do. I don't want them messing with it by themselves, making it worse, because now that also falls on me, and your ISP doesn't want you messing with it because you're making their job worse. Stay in your lane, understand why you're paying somebody like your ISP. And when those occasions do come up with this problem, absolutely on principle alone, refuse to try and fix it yourself. Apart from just plugging and unplugging it back in, that's it. If it's still not working, you need them to come out. That's what you pay them for. When my customers have a problem, if they want to plug it and, unplug it, plug it back in, that's fine with me. If they want to do that before they call me, I would still prefer they call me first, but it's their choice. I don't want them taking it any further than that in diagnostic. That's my job. That's why you pay me. I need you to tell me what the problem is. Let me get to work, get out of the way. When it's all said and done, I'll give you the summary of what happened. Okay. This is how the world works smoothly, at least in my world. And when everybody plays their own role. I mean, if you're a first baseman in baseball, don't get in the way of the shortstop. All right. If you're the pitcher, don't try and catch your own pitches and push the catcher out of the way. You have a role, you have a job. Stay in your lane. Everything gets a lot easier and a lot less frustrating when, especially when you're paying a service like your ISP. It's less stressful, it's less frustrating. Let them handle it. That's equipment that belongs to them that you are renting. And if they deem it's necessary to replace it, you may get a brand new router, more powerful with more features. And you'll thank goodness the problem happened, because otherwise you'd be, ignorance is bliss with your old stuff. And you might think, well, I'll just fix this. I don't want to call them. I hate calling them. And so you're punishing yourself by keeping obsolete equipment that once your ISP sees it, goes, oh, you shouldn't have this anymore. We don't use these. And they go into the truck and they pull out a brand new fancy router / modem and plug it in. And you got a free upgrade, and your world is so much better because you didn't try to interfere. And it didn't cost you anything than you're already paying. So why the heck are you paying for a service you're not using just to make yourself miserable? Anyway, that's my advice as a tech. Take it or leave it. It's your call. It's your consequences. Let me look here in the chat. If you guys have questions for me, I'm happy to do what I can to provide answers or point you in the right direction for your answers. So it takes me a minute to scroll back and see what I have been missing. You might want to, don't be shy and put your question in there again, because up until now, I have not been paying attention. WD180K says, I built a computer this morning, and so far I've not been able to get it to post. Then Asus B550E-I, is it a mini ITX with a 9700X? So a 9700X should have built-in video. How much RAM did you put in there? Oh, I see Frank Jimmy's helping him out in the chat. Thank you, Frank. RAM is too crucial, 16 gigabyte. Started with a BIOS flashback, did not work. Then I tried just starting in the BIOS, but it stops and the red light turns off. The BIOS update stayed green rather than flash. So you probably do need that BIOS update. And if the BIOS update isn't flashing, that means that your flash drive is not formatted properly. In most cases, you need to use a flash drive that's 8 gigs or smaller, formatted in FAT32, and the Asus BIOS must be renamed, and then the steps should work. I don't know if you did all of those steps or not, but it doesn't sound like you did. Why am I not full screen? The stream is being broadcast in 2 different streams. One is a vertical stream and the other is widescreen, and you've clicked the wrong stream. He said he did the renamer. Very good, good. Tried a different USB. He says his computer turns on, it posts a red light and shuts down. I plan to double check the RAM next. That doesn't sound like a RAM issue. That sounds more like a BIOS problem. And you're sure you got the 12 volt EPS power connector on the CPU power? A lot of people forget to put that on. So you got your big 24-pin motherboard connector, and then you'll have the other one by the CPU that also needs power from the power supply. Make sure those are fully seated. Says he's talking about a motherboard debug light. Typically, a motherboard will have like 4 lights in a row with little words next to them. So if you can identify which of the red lights you're seeing and what the words are next to it, you may need to use your phone or a magnifying glass. Again, I'm pretty far back. You know, a lot of the things I'm asking right now, you might have already answered. So I'm still catching up. Now, to use BIOS flashback, you don't need a CPU or RAM installed in the motherboard. You can safely remove the CPU and RAM and try the flashback with just the power supply hooked up. And of course, your flash drive. It shouldn't matter either way, but just know you do not need a CPU or RAM to do BIOS flashback. Carey, do I still have videos of the Subaru guy fixing the EJ25s? Those videos aren't available anymore because the interest has fallen off, and also because YouTube has now been just saturated with people rebuilding Subaru engines. So I'm not competing with them. When our content was original, the reason we did it was to have information that wasn't available anywhere else. Today, if you want to see how to rebuild a Subaru EJ25, instead of the one video we made, there's now about, I don't know, 75 of them at least across this platform. Many of them are filmed with much higher end cameras, you know, stuff we didn't have available back in 2013 when we made those videos. So they don't play well anymore. So there's no point in putting them up. You know, many people have jumped on the bandwagon and have done a better job at it than we did. They have tools and equipment and cameras that we didn't have. So I would advise watching a more modern video. He says it's a specific motor no one else has done. I'm not aware of there being a motor that we did that's different. In fact, I see so much of the same repeated content here on YouTube. I think it is out there and you're not seeing it, but we don't have the content anymore. It's outdated. Sorry. Let me go back here for a second and see what this motherboard is that they're asking about on this BIOS. I know it's up here somewhere. Asus B650E. Let me try something. I'll tell you who's really, really good at this is our friend Mike's Unboxing. And if you look, I think all of these from Asus are the same. So if we go to window capture on Chrome. Here's Chrome. Oh, I have a visitor. The cat has decided to make an appearance. Let's go over to my window capture here real quick. And here's our good friend Mike's unboxing, and he's showing how to use the ASUS USB BIOS flashback. And I'm not going to re-air his content, but I will tell you that he is very detailed and he goes through every single step here, including the format of the drive. And if you follow it exactly the way that he shows it, then you will have the exact same results that he has, which is success. And so by looking at the different manufacturers, whether that's MSI or ASRock, Asus, Gigabyte, they all have their own process. And he'll walk you right through that. So that's the video, how to use ASUS USB BIOS flashback. That's our good friend, trusted source, Mike's unboxing, reviews, and how-to. And I think if you follow that, you will be successful. If there's some reason you can't follow it, that something's different on yours, let me know and I'll see if I can find a different resource for you. Slavko joins us in the chat. Good to see him. And WD180K there says, thanks, Carey. I'll take a look at it. I've seen a few of his shows. This one is very specific to you. So I hope you'll find it what you're looking for. All right, I guess we're done with this, so I can turn this off and I can unplug my patch cable here. And unplug my internet and unplug my power adapter. So let me go move this over here. What's up, kitty cat? You want to be a star? No? You just want to walk up to me and then run away? I'm used to it. All right, let me grab my Post-it notes. Whoa. This is what I don't like about these adapters. They pull things off my table. Post-it notes. Are you coming to get the cat? Yes. Cat collector? And I should have a pen in here. A Star Wars pen from our good friend Buster out in Scotland sent me a Star Wars pen. I'm going to write down password. No one can read my handwriting. I mean, I should have been a doctor. So me writing my password down, it might as well be encrypted. You can translate. That's so true. What chicken scratch. And I said, this with a capital T is my PA55WORD exclamation point. And we'll just put that somewhere where it won't fall off, like right inside. And it'll be there next time. And we won't go through that ever again. The problem is forever solved in the future. That's the way I roll. Something happens, I want to make sure it doesn't happen again. Because if it happened once and I don't change what I'm doing, I promise you, we're just in a vicious cycle. And I don't have the patience for that. Let me set this aside. I'll just put it down here for now. So get put back up on the shelf for a few months unless a customer need arises or our needs change here in the studio. Now, tomorrow we will go back and follow up on this review. I am curious if the first M.2 slot is SATA only, because I know the second one can go either way, NVMe or SATA. It's labeled as such, but the first one doesn't seem to be labeled. That's an easy thing to check. I've already done the crystal disk mark test. It's pretty much where we said it would be on SATA. 550-ish. And then I've also done the Cinebench, which it stayed very, very cool. The numbers are not, mind-blowing, but it never got even close to overheating. The test was completed successfully with no crashing, and the fan noise was minimal. And maybe tomorrow we'll even go through just a complete wipe and reinstall, just to keep reiterating how easy it is. If you ever want to reinstall Windows, it's so easy. And then we can go to the website of the manufacturer to download the drivers. I can use Uncle Carey's Windows 11 optimizer and back up the drivers myself. Either way. So I think that's in store for tomorrow, if you're interested in joining us and hanging out. And then that'll wrap this review up, and then that'll go back up on the shelf. We are expecting just a couple of things to arrive. We just don't know when they're coming in. And then based on that will be what we cover next. There's still no major update to the Orico or Minisform NAS software that's still in beta, even now. So it's really nothing, it's still not done. So I've already shown it to you undone. I can show you it's a little bit more done, but still not done. I'm not gonna waste my time. I'm waiting for the software to come out of beta. When that happens, or at least if there's a significant change that puts it onto on a Windows network properly, which it's not doing yet. Neither Orico nor Minisform, they're both using the same Chinese NAS software, which again, they've been on break for 2 weeks, so I don't think anything much has been done the last 2 weeks. But it'll be done when it's done. And this is what happens when you adopt products too soon. You're gonna deal with this nonsense. So if you're ready to use it and get to work and you're not there tinkering and toying, you don't wanna buy it when it's brand new. Give it a year. So I think by around the fall, it'll be a year. And I hope it comes out of beta by then. But at this point, I'm not even sure. The progress on it has been really, really slow. And I love Minisform, but there's not an amount of love where I'm gonna look the other way on this, because I don't mind getting a product early like the Nano KVM, but they're updating it so often. At this point now, I can't even imagine what the updates are doing, because it just works perfectly now. So if you buy it now, you just plug it in, get the latest update, you're good to go. You don't have to go through all the pains that I went through. The Pico KVM, just waiting and waiting, and the last update made it worse. They just released an update for that today too, which requires a whole new flashing image, which I've shown. And when you put this latest version of Pico KVM on the Pico, now the check for updates button is built in. You don't have to do it manually anymore. The full screen works again. It looks like they've resolved a lot of the problems. They still have a long way to go, but they are not progressing on that as fast as the folks at Saipin keep working on that Nano KVM. It's crazy. The folks at Comet have also been working pretty good on getting updates to both the Comet and Comet Pro. And if you like something expensive and more complicated, the Comet is right up your alley. I despise it. I think it's so overthought and overly complex, and it costs too much money, that this is for the nerd who just loves to complicate their life. And they want to pay too much for it because they think they're better than everyone else. That's the vibe I get from the Comet and the Comet Pro. So I'm glad to see they're updating it regularly, but I am frustrated at how much more expensive they are and how they require a separate power cable when no one else, for everyone else it's optional, but not for them, it's not an option. And it forces me, whether I like it or not, to use a power cable, which again, if this was 5 or 6 years ago, it's just making it more complex than it needs to be. And their competitors are doing it as an option, not as a requirement. And the competitors are selling it almost half the price. So, not a fan. Here's hoping they'll change their ways, but I'm not holding my breath. Yeah, Frank, thank you for your help with the BIOS there. I appreciate that. Let's see, if we're missing any other questions, if you have a question for me. particular problem you're trying to solve. That's what I do for a living, and people pay me for that. I'm doing it here for free. And the benefit being that the payment is everybody learns. It's not just you getting service, but everybody can learn from your experience, what your trouble was and how you resolved it, or how we helped you to resolve it. And that betters the entire community so that they can help others. But it does require your participation. So without participation, well, the video will just end a little sooner. If you guys have things on your mind that we can help with, the video will continue as needed. So you guys determine if this is going to be a longer video or if we're getting close to the end. I leave that up to the audience. This is intended to be something that you're involved in. It's not meant for you to just passively watch it. Not that you can't, but you're missing the point. That's pretty much every YouTube channel. We don't want to be like everybody else. We want you to be involved. If you don't want to be involved, again, you don't have to, but your involvement dictates the content of this channel and the length of these videos. So you get back what you give. I think one of the most frustrating things for me when doing some of these videos is there's a certain portion of the audience that feels that they're entitled. So somebody says, hey, you know, those Subaru videos were really helpful. Did you ever contribute anything to show your appreciation? Did you ever, I don't know, encourage us to make more? Or did you think your view was a gift to us? Because we're making it as a gift to you. We don't have to share our knowledge. We don't have to go through the time and effort of filming and editing and publishing. So it's really disconcerting to me when someone says, I can't believe just how valuable those videos were. And I'm like, you never paid a dime. You never, ever contributed to encourage us to make more. And the videos were not financially feasible to maintain. And as a result, many other people since then have made the videos. But, you know, I don't know how you think this stuff gets paid for. And I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate having electricity, and I'll call the power company and let them know I love having electricity. But if I don't pay the bill, I mean, it ain't going to get me too far, you know? So I just ask for a little consideration. And whenever you see a content creator and you think their content has value, I mean, if you're not going to contribute financially to help them out, certainly you wouldn't expect somebody who doesn't see the value to do it. So then what's the point? If the result, if your video gets watched or it doesn't get watched, whether someone hates it or someone loves it, if the end result is you're still not making a penny, why would you keep doing it? So, you know, contributing to the channel doesn't guarantee anything. But when somebody says something versus when somebody does something, I mean, it's a big difference in my world. If somebody says, you know, hey, I appreciate what you do, thank you. That's kind of you to say. If somebody's handing me 20 bucks and going, this is for you, for everything you've done for me. And I'm like, oh, you don't have to do that. And they go, yeah, I'm not doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because it's the least I can do to show you my appreciation. That's a whole nother level. That's like, okay, now I know you mean what you say. You're not just being polite. And when you're on this side of the camera and you're trying to compete against other channels and the loss of revenue that YouTube has created since the pandemic, a lot of channels have just gone away, unfortunately, unless they have big corporate sponsors that are basically turning this all stuff into a commercial. So just, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying that's the marketplace. We have to rely on an honor system. And unfortunately, that just, for this channel here and with our members supporting us, you know, we really appreciate the membership, and they have access to our full video archive. But for the public that just wants things and they want to tell us how important it is or how valuable it is, but it's not valuable enough for them to contribute, unfortunately, that's just a little too common and represents the vast majority of viewers. And I mean vast. If you consider the number of viewers we have versus the number of supporters we have, it's less than 1% of 1%. So you can imagine that minority, that rare group that supports us. You can imagine from my perspective how much more they mean to me, although I appreciate all viewers, I do. But when they're just a viewer getting free content and they want to complain that it's not enough and they want more, but they won't help to make it, it doesn't get the job done. So, you know, I'm stuck. I do appreciate the kind words, but it takes more than that to get these videos out. And the demise of several YouTube channels that were independent like me, they're almost completely gone. Everything's now corporate backed for the most part, and you're just watching commercials. You're fast forwarding past the ads to get to basically the content of the video, which is nothing but an ad, especially on the big channels. But I'm trying to be different, and I'm trying to keep it independent, but it requires the support of the community. And I need more than just a pat on the back. It's nice to get a pat on the back, but it's not enough for me to continue. And again, that's why I appreciate the members so much. And if you consider membership, and that would be a first step for me to be able to try and honor your request is, you know, show me it actually means something. Put your money where your mouth is, and I'll do the same in return. In the meantime, you know, the focus of this channel is not Subaru or car repair. Those were put up as, you know, back in 2013 as just some variety because we were getting paid by YouTube significantly for our content. That stopped back around 2020. So it's where we are today. The economics changed. I'm not just making stuff up, but I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to survive. Slavko said the BIOS flashback on his board did not work with a flash drive bigger than 4 gigs. That shouldn't be a problem, but some flash drives are not compatible with some boards regardless of size. The ones that I use all the time that I've had really good luck with, you know, I tried a couple of like really cheap brands, and the cheap brands are often incompatible. But the cheap brand I found that works, and you'll see me pull these little flash drives out. I've got one right here. I get these on Amazon. They sell them in a package of 5. See if I can pull that up for you. And these work on every motherboard for every BIOS. And they're 8 gigs. So let me get over here to Amazon and let me look up, what were these called? Sam, instead of SanDisk, it's Sam, like Samuel. SanDisk USB. And they make a bunch of them. Let's see if they still sell them. In fact, they're probably made under a bunch of different names, but I don't know for sure that they are all the same. So if we stick with what I know, these have been fantastic. Sorry, Sam Data. So Samuel Data. Sam Data USB flash. Okay, so let me give you an example here. Let me pull up the screen. Window capture that bad boy. Here we go. All right, so these are a couple 32 gig flash drives, but if you look down here, there's like a 5-pack for 26 bucks. Even those are 32. I don't think these are 32, are they? Get my other glasses and see what it's really small print on here. These work fantastic. Oh, here we go. There's 8 gig ones right in front of my face. So 8 gigs, you get 5 all in different colors. They're $19. That comes out to what? $3.70 each or something. Yeah, this is an 8 gig USB 2.0. That's all you need for BIOS. And every motherboard, no matter how old or how new, these have been 100% compatible for regular BIOS flashing, BIOS flashback, all of it. They work 100%. They're also great to use as boot drives for things like Memtest 86 or Acronis recovery disks, or if you want a Hiren's bootable CD, even if you're just using it temporarily or you want to permanently leave that as a bootable diagnostic, for less than $4 a piece, right? Let me do the math on that. Calculator. Let's do 19 divided by 5. $3.80 each. I mean, how can you go wrong? And if one breaks, just throw it in the trash. It's not even worth warranting. I've never had one break. And I love that they're all different colors, so that way I don't necessarily have to label them. If I know the red one is my BIOS flash drive and the black one is my Memtest 86, I don't have to label them. And I don't, have the limitations and complexity of something like Ventoy, which I just refuse to use it. I think that's for people who just love making their life complicated and insisting it's easier. I'll agree to disagree with you. I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong. It's just not the way I don't see the world through your eyes. This makes much more sense to put everything compartmentalized and not put all your eggs in one basket. They're very inexpensive and they just last forever. So you'll never go wrong having an 8 gig flash drive for things like bootable utilities and heck, even making a Windows 11 bootable installation media. These aren't the fastest in the world, but when you're doing a BIOS update or you're spending less than $4, I don't think you can be that demanding reasonably. And like I said, I've had no compatibility issues, regardless of the system's 15 years old, 20 years old, or brand new out of the box. I have had compatibility issues with other flash drives. We've demonstrated that live at Studio B, where all we did is change the flash drive, and suddenly the BIOS flashback worked. And these are the ones that ended up passing all of my tests. They've never, ever been incompatible with any motherboard ever, in the sense of using them for BIOSes or anything else for that matter. So whatever that's worth, that's what I use. So hope that helps you out. Hey, Craig just became a new member of the channel. Thank you, Craig. Now you got me curious. If I go back as a member on my own channel, do the Subaru videos exist for members? I don't think they do, but let me just check. It's been years since anybody's asked me about them. Let's go to the studio. And let's go under content. I don't think they're there anymore. Let me try a filter. Title, Subaru. I stand corrected. There is a public video. How many are there? There's one public video doing the 2.5 liter dual overhead cam STI short block. And then there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 videos also about Subaru. That might be the videos you're referring to, but you have to have a membership to see them. When people don't voluntarily offer, then we have to force their hand and say, if it's that important to you, you can pay for a month's membership, get what you need, and don't renew it again. But at least we got something from you. That's what the world's come to here on YouTube anyway. So I did not remove them, but at the same time, they might as well be removed. I mean, nobody watches them. So, okay. So they are there and they're just available for members. Okay, good for me. Al says, thanks for showing those USB sticks. Right on. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I use them all the time. Whenever I do BIOS, you'll always see me pull. It may not be a white one. It could be black or red or green or one of the other colors. But I'm using this right now regarding the, when I'm trying to desolder the BIOS chip on another project. I have the BIOS I want on here, and I've got it set aside so I don't actually erase it. And then in the drawer, I think I have a replacement for BIOSes, this red one. But they're all the same. They're all 8 gig, and they came in a pack of 5. And I bought these years ago, never had them fail. And that's what I do. David Graham says, why is there a phone view? Well, because some people might want to watch on their phone, David. Not everybody does everything the same way you do. It's like asking me, when I sat down at the restaurant, why did they bring me a knife, a spoon, and a fork when I'm ordering soup? They don't know what you're going to order. Everybody gets a knife, a spoon, and a fork. You don't have to use them, but that doesn't mean nobody else eating at the restaurant doesn't need them, does it? So you will see there are 2 live streams happening right now. There's a vertical and there's a horizontal. If you're watching the wrong one, you've picked the wrong stream, and just go back and pick the other stream. They're broadcast together, but separately. In other words, they're both in sync, broadcasting at the same time, and it's up to you to pick which one you want to watch. Hope that clarifies any confusion. Dave Graham said, I watched a few of those Subaru videos. They were good. Oh, I'm not saying they weren't. I'm very proud of them. It just, interest has waned. People don't care anymore. And if they say they care, they don't care enough to do anything to encourage the expenses that are ongoing to, continue that. So that all came to a stop. Also, Subaru might retired. So that's all done. Drago said, hey, I haven't watched you for since 10 years ago. Your videos helped me build my first PC. I love it. Well, welcome back. We've been here the whole time. I'm just still trying to catch up with the chat. If you have questions, I'm telling you, this is the time to ask. Bearing, if there is no questions, then there's no reason for us to continue today's live stream. So your participation dictates if we stick around or we don't. All right, just so you know, if you're watching this video after it airs, you missed out on the community, because the community here is amazing. And this video is not intended to be a spectator event. This is really for you to be involved with. We'd love to have you involved. So if you're watching live, please join us in our chat room. Say hello is all you have to do. Let things happen naturally from there. Again, if I've missed any questions, sometimes a lot goes on in the chat and it scrolls off before I have a chance to see it. And the best way to get me to see it is to copy and paste it or type it again while I'm looking. And I'm not intentionally ignoring anybody. James says, it's cool you're live on Facebook now. Yeah, we should be broadcasting on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube today using StreamYard. Looks like we got about 122 of you watching live right now from all over the world. Mark Gaines has had a number of issues with getting coolers installed and working correctly. And he was working with a Trikes all-in-one cooler, and then over to Corsair, and then that one went out, and he had another one, and that one went out. And he's like, hey, no, I'll just get an air cooler. So we did a review on the Thermalright Assassin cooler. It's like $38 US. And I'm like, there's no way this $38 CPU cooler can compete with a $200 cooler. Well, not only did it compete with it, it performed better and quieter. So then Mark Gaines said, well, you know, maybe I'll just give up on these all-in-one coolers and just go to an air cooler and be done with this. Mark Gaines said, today I had to send the Thermalright Peerless Assassin cooler back because there were parts missing and I couldn't install it. I've never heard of that happening to anybody before, unless you bought or returned, like if you were looking for the discounted section, it should have been brand new. Amazon should replace that for you without any questions asked. The only time I've ever heard of that happening is somebody, you know, you're trying to save some money and you buy a returned unit. And especially with a cooler that contains so many different parts, I think there's a high likelihood parts are missing and the people checking them don't know. So if it was brand new and there were parts missing, then it doesn't sound like it was brand new. It sounds like somebody returned it and it wasn't put on the return shelf. It was put back in the new inventory, because everything you're describing sounds like you got a returned product. It won't leave the factory with missing parts. It's almost impossible these days with automation. If these things could talk, I bet they'd have a story. But, you know, if it happens to one person, it'll be Mark Gaines. He's got some bad luck, I don't know. But don't give up. You got to just fight back until you win. So hopefully the next one, I hope you returned it for a replacement. In fact, I would request an exchange from Amazon and they'll kick it right out to you right away. That way you'll have two. You'll know they won't send you back the one you've got if you wait till you get the replacement. Then send back the other one and it'll cross ship and you should be good to go. John Paul Bacon said if RAM clearance is a major issue and an all-in-one may be a better option. Well, but that's what I like about the Thermaltake, what is it called? The Peerless Assassin. There's no possible way for RAM clearance to be an issue. It's not possible. So you don't have to go to an all-in-one and it's $38. I guarantee you there is no configuration where RAM clearance is a problem. It's already accommodating for that. How many keyboards do I have? Well, Travis, it's like asking a mechanic how many wrenches he has. You know, this isn't a hobby for me. I'm not just hanging out in my mom's basement having some fun with computers. I run a business and I've been running the business since 1995. And I think sometimes we get viewers that doesn't comprehend that, oh, wait, people do this for a living. And because I do it for a living, I've got to have a variety of parts, right? So I have keyboards, mice, RAM. If you saw how much RAM I have, you'd hate me. You'd think, oh my gosh, you know, that's a stockpile. If you saw how much RAM I used in a year, you'd realize that's about 2 months worth of RAM. So it's like asking how many burgers does Burger King have in the back? That's all they do all day is cook burgers. They have to prepare for later today and tomorrow. And you understand what I'm getting at? So I don't know how many keyboards I've got. I don't think Burger King will tell you how many burgers they've got. It's what I do for a living, and they get sold to customers or they're used in diagnostics for customers, even if they're just temporarily used, both wired and wireless and full size and mid-size and cheap and expensive. Yeah. Yep. So one could say I'm a real enthusiast, right? More so than what you typically find online, because I chose to make a career out of it. And I started in 1991 working for places like Intel, for example, and then decided that just wasn't a good life for me. That corporate political nonsense just didn't sit well. But when I struck out on my own, I realized a lot of the things that I'd been provided by employers, I had to provide for myself, from the workbench to the chair, you know, to all the tools. You should see the amount of tools I have. And some of them are very specialty tools that I may only use once or twice. But just being able to get the job done quickly, the tool pays for itself typically after its first use. The hard part for me is finding it. What's happening, Mara?
Email.
Oh, we've got email. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Oh, Frankie B. Our friend Frankie sent a very generous Amazon gift card. Those gift cards, they mean a lot to us because everything you see here has been purchased at Amazon using gift card money or our own money as needed. Except for this, this was sent to us by Camry for review. But everything else, this even came from Amazon. Yeah. So, wow, very generous. And thank you, Frankie. We have, I will say, we have some amazingly generous community members here. And I cannot express how grateful I am, because it's so uncommon. It's sort of like, these are diamonds and these are stone, these are rocks. Which would you rather have? The rocks are great, okay? Not that everybody else is a rock, but the diamonds are rare. And because they're so rare, that kind of generosity that we see from Mark Gaines and Luke Greenia and Frankie B, our friend Buster, of course. There's countless others, by the way. They all are the diamonds, and I cherish each and every one of them because they do something voluntarily out of their goodwill. And the whole community, not just me, I'm not going out and buying a Tesla. This all gets poured back into the channel. And what we can do with the channel is based on what we can afford. And it's user sponsorship. You're not hearing me go off about a particular sales pitch on a product. If you buy it, buy it. If you don't, don't. I need a keyboard. You go, oh, that's a cool keyboard. Yeah, I thought so too. Nobody's paying me. I bought this keyboard. I bought this mouse. I bought this keyboard. I bought this computer. Everything you see, I paid for, except that. I'm very transparent and honest about it. I have nothing to hide. And if I'm here making videos all day, where do you think the money's coming from? So I have a choice. I could shut the videos down and just go work my job, go get some more customers and work with them privately, and they pay me. And I'm trying to do both. But more and more, there's been a lot more YouTube. There's probably 75% of my weekly time is spent on YouTube, 25% with my customers. That's subject to change, but right now things have been pretty quiet. So we'll see how things go. This can be a very stressful time for any of my accountant clients because it's tax season until mid-April. And as we approach mid-April, the pressure mounts on them to get this deadline, everything done by this government deadline. And if their systems go down even for a minute, we need instant backups. They lose so much in 24 hours. If we don't back up every 24 hours, oh boy, there's going to be hell to pay from, I'm going to be read the riot act. Their lives are tough enough and they hire me to make it easier. So right now, for all of my accountant clients, we kind of go in red alert. We're in a ultra high priority stage from January 1st until the middle of April. That's normal for every accountant I've got. And then the accountants generally, when they have a problem from, let's say, that deadline in April, all the way until the end of the year, it's like, just get to it when you can. There's very few emergencies, right? We don't ask much of you, Carey, for 9 months out of the year. But when we call you from January 1st to the middle of April, we expect you to be there for us. And they pay me for that. So right now, for all my other clients, it's business as usual. But for my accountant clients, it's all hands on deck. Nobody can take vacation. Nobody can take paid time off. If you work for my accountants, they will tell you, you can take off whatever days you want for whatever reason you want it outside of tax season. But when it's tax season, you have to be here every day. I don't care if you're sick. I need you to come in. I need you to work. And I'm glad I'm not on that side of things. I'll tell you that, because it doesn't go over well with younger people. So I've been hearing the hiring nightmares that they have people that just won't find that acceptable. It's like, oh, well, it's not his decision, right? It's not the business owner's decision. He's trying to stay in business, and the government isn't going to move their deadline because you're not feeling well today. So, yeah. These keyboards, by the way, I do think they're cool. This is made by a company called GravaStar, like the word gravity and the word star. And I really like the color and sort of the beat up look on them. What's interesting is this keyboard weighs like 3 pounds and this mouse is like 2 feathers. It's like, how is this even holding together? I expected it to be big and heavy. That really surprised me. And the other thing that's kind of cool is they have some matching accessories, which you never see me use them, but I just think they're cool. We have some Bluetooth PC speakers that match the theme. You know, you think I was getting paid to do this, you know, but we had to buy all this. Which again, without our supporters, this just wouldn't even exist. And this is a little cell phone charger. So you can see everything's themed out. Well, it's a USB charger, typically used for phones. And my goal was I was going to build, or I did build, a thermal take system that's this color. And I was going to set a desk over to the side, which I still plan on doing, but there's no room in the studio. We're just overloaded right now. We've been overloaded since we moved in here. The space is much smaller than the previous space, and the systems we've got aren't selling. So they're just kind of sitting here, taking up space. Once we're able to get the systems out and the space freed up, I no longer have that thermal take case. It was more yellow than orange. So I said, okay, this isn't the match I want. But what I was going to do, and I still intend to do, is to put all of this equipment over on another desk. And then when I do interviews or I'm being interviewed, instead of standing behind the desk, I'll go sit over at a different desk, which will have a webcam set up. I don't need this complicated stuff when I'm not working. If I'm just a talking head, a webcam is all I need. And, you know, have a separate computer that just with a webcam, I don't need a capture card. I don't have to worry about any of that. And nobody's ever going to see any of this stuff because it's just going to be a talking head. But for my purposes, you know, for professionalism, to sort of have this themed out setup was just a stupid excuse to buy it. Let's be honest. These speakers don't work together, which is a disappointment. So if you wanted a left and a right, you'd have to buy 2 of these. If you wanted a left and right, you'd have to buy 2 of those. I thought maybe one of these could be the left and one of these could be the right. This one sounds way better than this one, but this one's pretty light and this one feels like a bowling ball. So they're built really, really well. And they have a really unique theme. I really like the paint scheme on those, but they're, you know, about $200 a piece. This is probably $50. The keyboard's around 200. I think the mouse is around 100. So there's almost $1,000 with those 5 pieces. But they're cool. And without the generosity of the community, again, this wouldn't have been anything we could have entertained. It'd just sit on the wish list going, maybe someday. And now that we've got them, it's just figuring out how we're going to deploy them, which is just kind of put in hold right now until things change. I guess I can just leave that out there. See, if I turn this on, you'll probably hear it. Yeah, we can turn this one on too.
Ready to pair.
And they can be wired to the computer or you can go Bluetooth on them. And then this little guy, it's got some USB ports on it. These are just for decoration. So this is kind of stupid, but it's fun. And these are the old standbys that I use when I'm diagnosing. I need something small because I have a small workbench. And I don't have to worry about batteries. These are rechargeable batteries. You just plug it in, for me, about once every 3 or 4 months to charge them up. Primarily because I'm only using them on camera. So they only get a couple hours use when I use them. If you use it every day constantly, you'd obviously have to charge it more frequently than I do. But I love that I just plug it into a standard, well, this one's not USB-C. This is USB, micro USB. These are USB-C though. And I have a little USB-C charging box down here, and I just plug the cable in and leave it on the floor. I wake up in the morning, it's done. I just do it before bed, and Usually I wait till that it's not working right, or that I'm getting a low battery indicator. Normally with these, I don't get any low battery indicator. I just find that I start moving the mouse and it doesn't respond like it used to unless I move it closer. That usually indicates it's time to charge it. So I'll just get by with the rest of my day, whatever I'm doing. And then I just plug it in when I'm done. And when I wake up the next day, it's more than done. So, and I'm good for another couple months. And these are like $30 for the pair, one dongle. Unfortunately, this has a separate dongle from the mouse. These don't pair together. I was a little disappointed at this price range that they weren't intercompatible with each other. But the keyboard is Bluetooth, which is all well and good unless you need to go into a BIOS, because your Bluetooth driver won't load until Windows loads. So if you ever need to use a Bluetooth keyboard or a Bluetooth mouse outside of Windows, it won't work. So I'm not a big fan of Bluetooth when it comes to keyboard and mice. I prefer 2.4 gig Wi-Fi, wireless radio frequency. And that way it works in the BIOS. If I was an Apple user, everything's Bluetooth, but Apple locks out everything anyway. So it's not like you need to go into a BIOS on an Apple computer. They often won't let you. They make it the way you're going to like it. And if you don't like it, learn to like it. Welcome to Apple. All right. Any other questions I can answer for you? Otherwise, like I said, if you guys don't want to participate, you got nothing on your mind, well, there's nothing for me to respond to. So I'll give you guys a second here to respond. So David Graham, I've told you now 3 times, my friend, you're watching the wrong stream if you're watching the vertical stream. I don't know what else to do with David. I've already told you 3 times. There's a vertical stream and a horizontal stream. It's getting to the point of being absurdly hilarious now that I'm speaking to you and you're not listening. So I don't know what else I can do to help you, my friend. It's frustrating for me that I just can't reach over and click the button for you, but I don't know what else to tell you, man. If anybody in the chat wants to try and respond to David, maybe you'll have better luck than I'm having. I'm a little bit frustrated. Model Citizen says, do you see local computers as we know them going away in the near future, and computing typically done through an interface with the cloud? No. So let me ask you a question. Do you go to work like in an office building? Like, I don't know how you earn money, but a lot of people, like when you see rush hour traffic, where are those people going? Why are they going all at the same time, or a window of time in the morning and all coming home? Where are they all going? And I don't mean that sarcastically. I'm trying to teach critical thinking. A lot of people are going to offices, and the people that work in offices are typically assigned a computer to use, and there's an IT department to support it. Will that ever change? I mean, everything changes in time, but in our lifetimes, I don't think so. Some companies have gone to the cloud and have found that the lack of control that the company has when there's an issue with the cloud or the speed or the internet, they've then rescinded back to local for control and for security. So that ship kind of already sailed, and for a lot of companies realized it was a mistake, that they were relying too much on their internet connection and on a third party to maintain the system. And so when you have to call somebody and wait for them to get around to it, that's no way that you can run your business. So businesses ended up putting that all back in-house again for that reason. And then of course, when they get hacked in the cloud, even though you have no control over the security or whether or not it's being updated or their credentials are being stolen, your company can go out of business because of the actions of who you chose to partner with in the cloud. So there's just way too much risk and not enough benefit
And so again, for many companies that did go to the cloud, a lot of them have rescinded that and realized the value of having everything in-house. So until that changes, I don't see anything changing. Now, home users, that's a different story. But for people who work and go to an office, not the people who have shovels and are digging ditches, but the people, the vast majority of people that go to an office will sit at a computer. And the majority of those offices will want to maintain control of being able to remedy issues right away, to not have to call somebody else, and to have that control and also that security, because the whole lifeblood of their business and their careers and the life of their employees is in their hands. That's a pretty significant responsibility, especially if you have investors, and then those investors could sue you for their investment back. I mean, you're going to be living out in the street, or you're going to be moving out of the United States, getting out of the jurisdiction and never coming back again. So no, for all of those reasons. But home users, who knows? They're fickle. They change all the time. It doesn't really, it's insignificant compared to the number of people that are working. So, you know, it's not a disrespect. It's just, if consumers were a way that my business operated, I would see it differently. But my business exists because of other businesses, not because of consumers. If I relied on consumers, I'd have been out of business 10 years ago. Calvin said Windows 11 25H2 is now available. Oh, I didn't see if you were having a problem. That's the first I've seen, but glad we got it figured out. Patrick Manny said he's watching the video in IMAX. Even I don't want to see that. Is there something in my teeth? Ryvan says, hey, Carey, longtime viewer and subscriber. Have you run into issues selling computer builds due to the rising cost in memory? I am sure you have a stock of RAM on hand, but I wonder if it's affected you. Again, when let's say, and I'm going to ask you, what do you do for a living? Like, what? I'm just curious. Do you go to an office? I'm assuming most people, if they're working, they're going to an office. Most people aren't doing manual labor, but you know, those jobs exist too. A friend of mine's a trucker. He's just in a truck all day, right? But most people are not truckers. Most people are not forklift operators. Most people are not stocking shelves. Most people are sitting at a desk, especially if they have a career. And the average salary at a desk position is probably between $40,000 to $130,000 per year. So that's going to average out monthly here in the US to be somewhere between, at a minimum, let's say a little over $3,000 a month to pay that employee. You'd be at $36,000 a year on the very lowest end. That employee needs to sit at a desk. Do you know how much the desk costs? They need an office chair. Do you know how much the office chair costs? They're going to need a keyboard, a mouse, maybe multiple monitors. Do you know what all that costs? They need the space to sit, so they got to pay rent in a building and air conditioning or heat, plus a place to park their car. So they pay for all. The business has all of these as expenses. They may have benefits, medical, dental, vacation, 401k, et cetera, the business pays into all of that. Now, out of all of those expenses that a business will spend per employee on average per year, how much of that do you think is the computer? If the computer was $1,000 and this year it's $5,000, it's still nothing to the business. Overall, their ongoing expenses, it would be like saying to a mechanic, the tools that you need to do your job, the price has gone up, so are you buying less tools? If you need the tool to do the job, the tool price is insignificant. You will earn that money back by using the tool in zero amount of time. You'll use it once or twice, and you will have earned your money back. If you're a home user and you're just looking for something to do and it's become too expensive for you, hey, this is why I don't drive a Rolls Royce. It's not that I don't want one. It's just too expensive for me. And it likely always will be. And if I'm willing to sacrifice, if it's that important to me to make that happen, I'm sure I could achieve my dreams, but I don't want it that badly. And I would say the same for a home user. If you really wanted it, you'd come up with a couple $100. If it's just too expensive for you, like the Rolls Royce is for me, you'll learn to live without it. Businesses don't have that option. The amount of money a business will lose over a couple $100 on a computer, it's incalculable. It's very, very difficult to calculate that, because if that employee is earning that year after year with all those expenses going on year after year, and that computer is going to last, say, 4 to 6 years, it's an insignificant expense. It's like having bottles of water available to your employees. You don't have to do it, but it's so insignificant. Why wouldn't you? So no, I've not noticed any slowdown in business purchases whatsoever. Business, I mean, can you imagine you as a consumer and you call your insurance company, you call your power utility, you go to your local Walmart, and they say, I'm sorry, we can't help you today because we have old systems. We can't afford to replace them, so we cannot conduct business with you today. You understand how outrageous that sounds, right? So no, none of this is affecting business at all. Zero. Anybody who needs a computer for business buys it. The cost of it is insignificant. It's only home users that this is affecting. Just so everyone will know, the BIOS flashback is working with the board empty. All right, there you go. Now, hopefully when it's done and you put the parts back, you'll get your first post. We're gonna stick around and wait, because now you got me involved. I gotta know the outcome. David Graham said, I used to buy for a company. He was a company buyer. I had to get 3 quotes before I could pull the trigger. It could spend up to 200,000. Yeah, so that's normal, right? Depending on the company you work for, they don't just take any bid. They usually put a bid out for whatever they need, and they'll get quotes. And typically 3 is the most common number, and often it's the lowest bid. It often doesn't matter much more than the money. But yeah, they might say, hey, Dell, what can you get me these systems for? Hey, HP, what can you get me 100 systems for? Hey, Lenovo, what can you get me 100 systems for? A lot of times that's the case. Bigger corporations, however, may have policies and procedures for security and for support reasons that everything has to be through one company, so that support doesn't cost as much. So if the company's buying based on price, their IT department has to have exceptions and different sets of rules depending on what the IT personnel are working on. Oh, if that's an HP, then we have to go through this process. If it's a Dell, we have to go through that process. And so the company will end up spending more on labor to, intensely go through all this different training and documentation that has to be researched for each different repair and have different sets of rules, where it's actually cheaper for those companies, these large corporations, to have policies that mandate specifically, oftentimes for security, that each manufacturer meets all of their requirements, and that they have support contracts that are included, that are all handled exactly the same, so that less money is spent by the company for maintenance and repairs. So in many cases, once they've tied themselves to a particular vendor, they're already getting a good price from that vendor. That vendor doesn't want to lose their business, so they're going to be competitive, usually. And then the company has one set of rules, one set of training, and then everything flows a lot easier, and that saves the company a lot of money. But it depends on the company. The government isn't known for efficiency. The government loves to do bids and buy from the lowest bidder. It's a famous quote, I think, from Neil Armstrong as he's sitting on the Saturn V rocket getting ready to land on the moon. They say, what goes through your mind as you're sitting in this rocket getting ready for launch to go to the moon? And I want to say it was Neil Armstrong. And he said, what's going through my mind is I'm sitting on a ball of fire that was built by the lowest bidder. I'm paraphrasing, but you can Google it. Phil Stott said he's a forklift mechanic, but I rely on my laptop for diagnostic software that I use for troubleshooting problems. Yeah, more and more of the mechanic stuff is relying on engine management computers and communication sensors. And oftentimes, it doesn't have to be a laptop. Sometimes it can be one of the diagnostic screens. It's like a tablet that specifically plugs into the OBD2, or they have them where they're Bluetooth and the OBD2 is Bluetooth to a laptop. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times somebody like Subaru Mike would have a laptop in the shop just to be able to Google schematics and parts and bring it up as needed. Model Citizen wants to know, if you have a client who needs a physical network to be set up as a tech, do I physically lay the cabling, or is it someone else employed for that? Perhaps it depends on scale. Yeah, there's no one answer for that. Overall, if you asked me this question in the early 2000s, I did it all myself. I had a contract to wire up all the brand new IHOP restaurants that opened in Arizona. Even did one in Arkansas. I flew out to Searcy, Arkansas to open the IHOP there. And I did the phones and I did their networking. Just me by myself. Now I'm 57 years old. I can't move like I used to, nor do I have the desire. Also, IHOP doesn't have payphones in the lobby anymore. But these days I will contract that out, and or I'll just step aside. I'll give the name and number to somebody without taking a piece of it, but somebody I trust, and say, these guys do good cabling. They'll take care of you. And it'll be somebody I know, somebody I've worked with that I can trust, that isn't going to rip off my customer or screw me over by leaving a job not done correctly that I have to fix. But if it's a simple thing, hey, we just want to add one more room, I'll probably just take care of it. I can do that. But the older I get, like, I don't want to be 70 years old on a ladder. I think it's just irresponsible, and a bit delusional to think that that's a smart thing for me to do at that age. That's just me. I mean, if you're 70 or older and you still climb ladders, bless you. I'm not doing it. I mean, maybe a little ladder. I'm not. No. I still climb a ladder now and again. But when we recognize as we're getting older that our energy level, our flexibility, and just the everyday pain of just existing is more than enough to bear than adding on the physical work, it's time to just delegate that off to somebody younger, or maybe in better shape than me, okay? Just age ain't but a number, but I'm just saying I can't do that work like I used to. I tire out very easily, and I don't like it. So the last cable I ran was just that. Somebody brought in a company that I recommended to do the job. And they needed a cable run that was never run. I take it back. It wasn't somebody I recommended. They had their own person. So I said, call me when the person's done. They were moving into a new office. And they reached out and they said, okay, we're ready for you. So I came out, and they said, we want a computer here in the middle of the floor, in the middle of an office. Where are you going to plug it in? We'll run some cables across the floor. Okay, where's your network cable? Never put one in. Okay, well, you're going to need to get your guy back out here and run that. Well, we really want to be up and running tomorrow. Is there anything you can do? You guys got a ladder? We have a ladder. Got cable? So I look around, boxes and boxes, and there's a box of cable, and it's almost empty. And I'm like, there might be enough left. I don't know who this belongs to. Somebody, I don't know. Do I have permission? Use it. I said, well, we'll see if it reaches. So I grabbed the ladder and I lifted the ceiling tile and I threw it across into the other room, and then ran it down the wall and terminated it, plugged it in. And then I ran it from the ceiling down to the computer. And I'm sweating. It's an easy job, and I'm just sweat's pouring off of me. It's July, it's Phoenix, it's hot. The guy says, that cable's ugly. You can't Like it's just hanging from the ceiling. I go, yeah. What do you want me to do? He's like, well, don't you have like a conduit or something? I go, no, you do. He goes, what do you mean I do? I go, look around this office. You see all those conduits coming off the ceiling? Where did those come from? They didn't come from me. You had somebody do that. I can't. At that point, I've done what I can, and I did more than I was obligated to just to help you. That's a problem. You know, you'll be up and running tomorrow like you want it to be, but if you want it to look pretty, you need to call your building maintenance guy or whoever that is, because I don't know what to tell you. I'm not a building maintenance guy. I'm not changing your air filters and sweeping the floors. You have a person for that. I don't know who it is, but clearly these all didn't appear on their own. And, you know, if we focus on what's important, you are now connected, and that employee can now sit in the middle of this floor, okay, with cables drenched across the floor for power and a cable running up to the ceiling in the middle of the room, because that's what you asked for. That's all I can do. And you know, that was the thank you I got, was it wasn't good enough. And I just said, that's it. And that was the last cable that I ever ran. I thought I was doing them a favor. Phil Stodd said he's 72 years old and he still has to work at heights to do repairs. Well, if I'm working, like let's say I'm working for a company, there should be safety harnesses attached. Now, if I have a safety harness attached, I'm a thrill seeker. I might just drop on purpose. Whee! Okay. But an employer should have to follow OSHA safety requirements, which often means that you're harnessed in so that you don't fall and injure or permanently injure yourself. So that would cost the company a lot of money if you did that. And nobody wants the company to lose money. Let's make sure we have the priorities straight. We have people, when I worked at the power company, that work in the bucket trucks that go up and change out power lines and stuff. You have to be harnessed in like 2 different ways in those. So whenever I see a news story, there was one recently, someone fell out of the bucket truck and died. I think they died. It shouldn't be possible to fall out of a bucket truck. The worst thing that can happen is a car that's not paying attention hits the bucket truck and knocks it over while you're in the bucket. That's very, very rare. And in that case, you're still harnessed in. But for somebody to fall out of a bucket truck, they were asking for it. There's no, and they didn't have any other news. Like this was just in the news the other day. How was somebody in the bucket that wasn't harnessed in? And they didn't have any answers. They don't know what happened, or they weren't releasing it to the public yet. But sometimes people are, you know, Darwinism kind of takes care of it. It's like, how have they stayed alive this long? Have they just been lucky? However old that person was, I don't know, to fall out of a bucket truck, because clearly they weren't wearing a safety harness. I don't get it. Phil Stodd said, I use Big Joe, the order picker, for really high stuff. When I worked, when Best Buy opened in Phoenix in 1993, I got a job at Best Buy as a computer tech when they didn't have computer techs. This is before Geek Squad. And that's when they introduced all the employees to Big Joe, because the store hasn't been opened. It's the construction workers are left, and now all these employees they hired have to polish the floors and stock all the shelves and get all the price tags. And, you know, all of the construction and paint was done, but the rest of us were responsible for getting the store ready to open. And so that meant like the big TVs and stuff. So they introduced this thing called Big Joe, which I thought was just a Best Buy thing. So Big Joe is like a half a forklift. It's this thing that it's like a Segway meets a forklift. It's much bigger and heavier than a Segway, but it's much more shallow and single person operated. You're not sitting in a chair. You kind of get into it like an elevator, a very shallow elevator, maybe not much wider than this table and probably not as long. And then you've got the controls to drive it forward, drive it backward, lift it up, bring it down. And I don't know if it extended outward, or I can't remember. That wasn't my job as a computer technician. I never got to operate Big Joe, but the nerd in me was like, hey, that's pretty cool. So if you're talking about the same Big Joe, there was a chain. So when you got into it, you closed the chain And I think there was something you buckled onto your belt so you couldn't fall out of it. Stillick wants to know if all these yellow devices are from the same company. Yes, they're from a company called GravaStar. In fact, if we come over here, let's see, if I just type in GravaStar right into the URL, and the first link that Google offers us is gravastar.com. And I can share this page with you right here. And they primarily make PC accessories. Oh, there's earbuds that match. I never bought the earbuds. There they are. Yeah, check them out. They got a lot of different keyboards and mice. They all seem to be really well made, but they are expensive. Like I said, they didn't sponsor us. We bought these products, just like you would. Only we show them to everybody on camera because we're allowed to, because that's the American way, man. We don't need a company's permission. They don't even need to know I exist. We buy what we want to review. We did reach out and ask them, and they never responded. So we said, well, screw it. We'll do it without you. Whatever. I mean, either the project's good or it's not. If the company wants to participate, icing on the cake. If they don't want to participate, we just buy it anyway. So we're very much like you guys. We're trying to be representative, not of the corporate side, but of the end user side, because that's what I do for a living. I represent my customers so they don't have to make all the decisions, or I can minimize what they need to worry about. Like, what's your budget? What's important to you? And I can make them I can cut through all of the nonsense and say, you know, these are the most reasonable choices, A, B, or C. I don't want to overwhelm them with too much information. And then they can kind of guide me, and I'll take it from there. So customer needs to be happy with me to keep me employed. I'm very motivated to make sure my customer's happy. I am not motivated to stay loyal to a company from GravaStar or any of these other kinds. I don't care. If it's Intel or AMD, if it's NVIDIA, I don't care. It's whatever the customer needs. So I don't have any loyalty other than to my customers. And if a company makes a product that the customer likes and the customer is loyal to that company, I'm happy to be the liaison between the two. But I personally have no loyalty to any company, period. It either suits the need, it's a quality product at a fair price, or it doesn't. That's it. So if companies want to work with me and their products I want to review anyway, hey man, that's the best of both worlds. But unfortunately, it's not as common as I'd like it to be. A lot of times we get offered to review things that we have no interest in Apple phone chargers and pairs of socks. Oh, good news, Carey, you can keep the socks. Thanks. No, thanks. We're a big fan of your channel. We love your content, which is why we're offering you this new litter box. What are you talking about? This isn't a pet channel. When have I ever reviewed a litter box? Oh, it's a $300 litter box and you get to keep it. Really? You don't want me to send it back? Oh, I just got timed out. Mara can tell you stories every day. We love your channel. And then they offer us some unrelated topic to review some video game on a cell phone. You've never seen my channel. It's just a boilerplate message they blast out to every content creator. Hogpool says they're not great for gaming. Well, it depends on the games, right? You have your preferences. It may not be good for your gaming. I mean, let's take, for example, let's fire this back up here. Or I left this on, didn't I? I forgot where I was with this. Let's switch back over to this for a second. HDMI. Okay, so obviously the router's unplugged and the browser still, cached the page waiting on a response because I never closed it. It doesn't close itself. That's normal. So let's go back over here. Let's close that out. Close that out. Now, the keyboard and mouse I'm using here, the little black one, would you say that's a gaming keyboard? You probably would say it's not. Let's go do something. What can we do legally? Old Unreal .com. Oh, did I unplug from the network? Hold on a second. I was plugged into the router, wasn't I? I didn't plug myself back in. So let's plug into the router, and then we'll see that bottom thing down here blinking. And then we're going to go back to the browser, and let's pull up Old Unreal. Now, those of you remember Unreal Tournament? This is all legal with the blessings of the company. They've updated it to work on modern hardware. So here's Unreal Tournament 2004. Let's download that. Windows 7 and later, Linux and Mac, follow the GitHub page. Let's click Unreal 2004. And then let's go back, and then we'll get the patch, which is right here, game patches. This is what updates it so it'll work on modern hardware. Let's see, what do we have? Lots of different assets. I hate this because I always have a hard time finding the download. That's not the file. That's not the file. Oh, here's a zip file. Let's click on that. Okay, so let's open Unreal Tournament. Like I said, I got to keep everything on the up and up. Everything I'm showing you is 100% legal with the blessings of the manufacturer of the game. They're fully aware of it. They have no problem with it. And if you want to relive some good old times, well, it won't cost you anything because of the open source community. And I think they're still refining it. I don't know that it's perfect, but it supposedly works really, really well on most computers. And it's free. So let's go ahead and got to install DirectX, I guess. Oh, it says it's downloading. Okay. There we go. The exercise here will be to challenge anybody to a game of Unreal Tournament, and I'll use the crappiest keyboard and mouse I have here, and my skill will still be better than your skill. You cannot replace your skill with a keyboard. You might think you can, but you can't. I will win game after game with any keyboard you put in front of, because the skill that I have in this game is not dependent on the keyboard. Flat out. If you think your ability to play a game depends on your talent, depends on your tools, you got it backwards, my friend. It's completely delusional to think you can buy your way to winning. But you can think that if you want to, but the reality is it wouldn't matter what keyboard you put in front of me. A good piano player will play a Casio piano at Kmart or Walmart, or they'll play a fancy Yamaha or whatever grand piano, Hammond or whatever. A good cook, the food. Can you imagine if I came over to your house and I'm like, wow, this food's really good. You must have some amazing pots and pans. How offended would you be? Get out. All right. That's what I hear when people are like, oh, this keyboard's not good for gaming. No. Sorry, either you're good at the game or you're not. Don't blame the keyboard. Come on. All right, let's finish the install here. So it's very much dependent, first of all, on your skill as a player. Secondly, the ability of the computer and the kinds of games that you want to play. A lot of esports games are not that demanding. Retro games aren't that demanding. AAA first-person titles that just came out Those are your most expensive and most resource intensive. And as such, you should expect nothing less when it comes to the hardware you use for those games to play smoothly at larger, higher resolutions and frame rates. And if you got the budget for it, that's great, but that still doesn't make you a better player. All right, so let's see. Yeah, this is all automated. It's doing everything on its own. Like I say, this is a community project here. So yeah, I don't think it's as perfect as maybe the thoroughness of a proper quality control in a corporation, but well, we'll just see how it pans out here. Once this is done, then we just have to put the patch on it and it should run, I think. There's a lot of stuff in there, huh? Still going. Okay, it's done. And it put it in C:\Unreal Tournament. Yeah, that's old school. All right, so now if we want, we'll go back to the downloads folder and we'll extract these files. We use File Explorer. And let's extract all of them. And usually what you would do is you would just copy all of these over into the installer directory. I mean, I could read the directions, but I'm pretty sure this hasn't changed. This is always the way that patches used to work back in the day. So we'll find out if I'm assuming incorrectly. Let's take all of this and I'll hit copy. And let's see, web, local system account. Let's see if those directories exist in here. Web. Let's go ahead and just hit paste. It'll probably ask if we want to overwrite. That'll be a good sign. Yep. So we want to replace all the files. Those are the patches that are replacing the original files that are supposed to make this compatible with modern hardware so that there's proper gameplay like we're used to. I probably could have cut and pasted it. It would have been a little faster. And that should be it. We should be ready to game. I think. There we go. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's doing something with the video card right now. Well, I haven't seen this in a long time. I might be a little rusty. Let's do a single player game. Create new. Sure, I'll be that guy. I'm going to put it on novice. Let's not get cocky. He looks friendly. I think I have a milk bone. You want a milk bone? Oh, I guess not. Bad. I'm going to spray him with some water. Psh, psh. Little spray bottle. Oh, here we go. This is just, I'm not playing the game yet. I'm just watching the intro here. I haven't seen this in years. We're just using onboard video on a $300 machine with a cheap keyboard. Oh, the amount of hours I spent playing this and Duke Nukem 3D. Good times. I need my Ramstein soundtrack. Little 9 Inch Nails. That's more Doom, really. All right. Is the game starting or what? I don't need a tutorial. Let's just play. Press fire to spawn. Okay. Weapons have 2 fire. Yeah. Come on. What do I hit? Escape or something? What do I do? No, escape ain't gonna do it. I didn't want the tutorial. I'll figure it out. It's muscle memory. Let's go. Yeah, I get it. It's an assault rifle. Fires bullets and grenades. Great. Got it. Spacebar? Something? Anyone? Bueller? Nothing? Anyway, you get my point, right? This thing's going to go through this demo this whole time. Let me get back over to camera 1. Yeah, this will be fine. I'll kick anybody's butt with this keyboard. Has nothing to do with my talent and experience. This keyboard does not replace talent. I'm a pretty fast typer. I can type faster on some keyboards than others, but I can probably type faster than most people on anything. There are people faster than me. I haven't met them. Can we set up an official Holzman gaming clan? We'll just make it up of everybody that plays Unreal Tournament 2004. So nobody under 22 years old is allowed to play because they wouldn't have been born yet. Hook the speakers up. Yeah, I don't know that I can using StreamYard out of this. You know, we're coming out of the. I could probably Bluetooth the speaker to it, and then the microphone would pick it up. But, yeah. Oh, it's because I picked the novice mode. That's why I'm getting the tutorial. That makes sense. That clears up that mystery. All right. What was the end result on the BIOS update? Did that ever? I'm scrolling back to the chat. We'd love to have a LAN tournament with the Guru Carey. I would love that. I just need the time and a chair. Oh man. And then I'll be a little wobbly at first. I'm sure I will. I'll be a little uneasy, like getting on skates or a bicycle. But then after a couple rounds, I think I'll be right back at it. And I'll get a whole new level of respect from people who don't believe me. Slavgo wants to know, is buying an NVMe drive in mint condition from Amazon resale a bad idea? Well, it's like asking me if you should buy some used batteries. If the batteries are barely used and there's a significant price decrease, yeah. But if the batteries are half depleted and they're half the price, you didn't save any money. The benefit of Amazon resale is that you can return an item. So for a while, we bought a couple of Samsung NVMe's that were returned, and one of them was about 30 or 40% off, which was a significant savings. But we realized 30 to 40% of its life was used. So really, we paid the same price when you think about it. But until we get the drive and we plug it in, we pull up Crystal Disk Info and see how many power-ons and how much data has been written to it. It could be a fairly brand new drive and you get a bargain of the century.
If it's not a bargain of the century, you have the option within 30 days to return it to Amazon. Same with a battery. If Amazon were selling used batteries and the battery was at 98% capacity, but it was 25% off, good deal. But the battery's 25% off and it's at 25% or less of remaining capacity, you just paid potentially the same, if not more, for the used of what's left of it. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. John Lewis is telling Mara, whatever you did on StreamYard worked. It popped up on my phone, and now here I am. Okay, whatever that was. Model says texts are underappreciated until something goes wrong. How common is it that comments believe they know better and make it difficult maintaining a relationship? It's true of any relationship. You know, when two people get together in a relationship, whether or not that relationship will last depends on the attitude of both people, whether or not they appreciate each other. They might appreciate each other at first, but then over time, start taking the other person for granted. And then suddenly that relationship doesn't work, even though the other person didn't do anything wrong. So it's not all within your control. I can tell you the clients I have now, I've had for many, many years. They've already learned my value. And the clients that never learned my value, they're out of business. Now, I'm not saying they're out of business because of me. I'm saying, you know, they got older, they had enough, they retired. Maybe part of that was the frustrations they had dealing with making their life harder than just letting me do the job. I can't say, but what I can tell you are the people I work for obviously still have businesses, and the people I used to work for, no, I can't think of one of them that's still in business right now. I think they're all gone. Either that or it's been such a long time I never followed up to see whatever happened. So it's okay. I've also been in relationships in my life that didn't work out. Could have been my fault, could have been their fault. Try better next time. But understand what's your responsibility and what's your fault. Somebody's being difficult, that's not your fault. And there's nothing you can do. So you can sit there and try and appease them, but you'll be stuck in that loop forever. If you want to do that, that's your choice. You can say, hey, I expect better respect than this. I'll get it somewhere else. Choice is yours. You are the ones that set the rules, and you're the one that has to enforce the rules. And well, this other person, if your business mentality is, well, I need the work, then you're busy working, which means you're not available for somebody else to ask you to work for them because you don't even know they exist. You're so busy looking over here, trying to get the few pennies that they're willing to throw you like they're doing you a favor, that you can't see the opportunities happening over here, and they pass you by completely unknowingly, and you just think you're stuck and there's nowhere to go because you haven't opened your eyes and made yourself available for new opportunity. It's like opportunities knocking and you're complaining about the noise. So a lot of this falls on you. You're not a victim other than of your own choices. You can't control how other people behave. If you don't like it, don't work for them anymore. That's it. You're not a victim. It's not just you. You're not dealing with anything the rest of us aren't dealing with. But how you choose to deal with it will determine your mental state of mind. You know, it's said that 90% of our life is based on our attitude. 10% of your life is based on what happens to you. 10%. 90% is based on how you choose to react to it. You can't control the 10%, but how you deal with it, that's 90% that's going to form whether or not you're a happy person or you're a pissed off person. That is on you for you to own. Nobody will do this for you, or you're going to have a lifetime of disappointment until you take over and accept responsibility for your own happiness. You're not responsible for anybody else's happiness. That's not your job. So welcome to planet Earth, just like the rest of us. And you can try and fight it all you want. Nobody's going to win fighting it. You got to learn how to work with it and use it to your strengths. And you will be in a much better place, in a much better attitude, more positive when you realize the control you have
in your life. Now, you can't control everything. You might, accidents happen, diseases occur. But again, attitude can make a big difference in that healing process too. Ask any doctor. Oh, my light just came on. That means it's 6:15 here in Phoenix, sundown, sunset. Okay, there's the update. The motherboard, after doing the BIOS flashback worked. The computer posted with this 9700X CPU installed with the same memory on an NZXT power supply. I have the cooler on it, so I will reboot with the Rufus USB. All right, now he's going to get Windows installed. Right on. Edward Bass joins us and says hello. And yeah, your Rufus USB has started. I think he's referring to the Windows USB. I don't think there is such a thing as a Rufus USB. I think he made a Windows installer USB using Rufus. Trying to translate this for everybody. And I'm not translating it correctly. Please let me know. But I think that's what he's saying. And yeah, he's saying thanks to Frank Jimmy. Frank helped him out a lot. Like I said, we have an amazing community here. All those people you see in green, including the person getting the help, came from help from another person in green. And that's just the way our community is. We love to help one another. People come in here and they want to start trouble or they want to bully. It doesn't fare well in our community. You're going to get bullied if you do that. So we love when people want to be a part of the community, whether as a paid supporter or not. Again, it's all about the attitude. You come in here and you want to be a part of this community. Everybody's welcome to be, as long as you're kind. And it's a strange thing to have to request, but this is the internet in 2026. And requesting it doesn't mean you're going to get it. So that's when we take control, and we give everybody the benefit of the doubt until they give us a reason otherwise. And if they do, they're gone, and they can never come back. It's a lifetime ban. So I was giving people second and third chances, but all you do is repeat the same behaviors. So I've learned my lesson. Those people are just, it's like not expecting a dog to bark. It's a dog. That's what it does. It will do that its whole life. So those people are dogs and they bark. Well, we don't want the barking dog. So there's no chance, there's no reason to give them a second or third chance to see if they'll stop barking. It's in their nature as a dog. They don't know better. So yeah, so now bans are for life. We're done with it. It was wasting too much time, too much grief, and no benefit for us at all. How do I agree to Windows with no mouse working? You should be able to install Windows using just a keyboard, but my question would be, why is your mouse not working? Do you have another mouse you can just temporarily take off another system, just enough to get you through the setup? I know you can do it through the keyboard. It's a pain in the butt. And Frank again and David Graham there are giving you some tips as well. But I would just temporarily just grab a mouse if it were me. All right. Well, I think with that, there's Leadman70 saying hello. Yeah, I missed out on a lot. Corporate software is driven by money. Well, I mean, the minute you say corporate, it's not a charity, right? So there are responsibilities and accountabilities, and people, like, I don't know how you pay your bills, but I don't think there's anything wrong with the motivation behind the code. For a lot of people, they don't have the luxury of just making code and investing time to just give it to people that are going to complain about it, and would much rather just sit on the couch and watch TV. So the benefit of the corporation is it gives people a reason to come to work and to earn a living so they can pay the bills and have a nicer lifestyle, maybe drive a nicer car, maybe go on vacation, and that they work with a team of people. It's not just one person necessarily deciding the code base, but rather a group of people working together. And then the success of that and the deadlines that are placed on it mean a whole different thing than, let's say, you want to hang out and play some baseball with your friends at the park. It's fun, you know. What are you doing today? Nothing. You want to go, it's a nice day. You want to go play some baseball? Let's go play some baseball. And you guys decide, hey, you know what? We really enjoy this. We should create a team and play other teams. Okay, well, now you have to be at the park in uniform. You got to pay for the uniform. You probably have to pay dues. They're counting on you. If you don't show up and there's not enough players, they're going to forfeit. Everybody's going to be mad at you. This thing that you started doing for fun now just became a responsibility and a job. And you've got to be there at a certain time on a certain day, and the game's going to get played. It's not a mood based. You don't wake up in the middle of a war and decide, I don't want to fight today. You don't get to decide that. So I don't think that anything done for money is necessarily not done out of passion. For example, I love what I do for a living. The idea that I can get paid to fix computers, I would do it for free if somebody else paid my bills. I don't work for the money. I never have. I've always, and this was a very difficult thing for employers to understand, because they would threaten, you're going to do it this way because we're the ones paying you. And I'd say, well, and this is not the best example, but in cases where I'm being disrespected, I'm saying, look, and I literally would tell my bosses, I don't have this job for the money. My parents left me a lot of money. Now, none of this is true, but my boss doesn't need to know that. So I flat out lied to my boss. I don't do this job for the money. I'm perfectly fine. My parents set me up with a nice trust fund. I wish. But as far as my employer is concerned, I'm here because I enjoy the people I work with and I enjoy the work. Holding the money over my head, it's not going to work for me. You can't threaten me with, you can probably threaten everybody else. You can threaten to let me go. Go ahead. And some employers call my bluff. And you know what? I had another job in 2 weeks. So what? Now, this was the 90s, but those employers were a dime a dozen. Who cares? And almost every time it happened, I was happier with the new employer because they appreciated me. So I never work for the money, never. I work because I enjoy helping people and I enjoy the appreciation. And the fact that I can get paid for it, just because I'm doing it for money, doesn't take away my passion. And so I wouldn't throw a blanket over any corporation or programmer saying, well, if you're in the open source community, you're doing it for passion. And if you're doing it for a company, you're doing it for money. I completely 100% disagree that the world is so black and white. And it's definitely not the world I live in. If I was doing it for the money, I'd be a lawyer. I'd get paid a lot better. But my passion isn't there in law. So I just want you to think about what you said, because that's a pretty myopic way of looking at things. I do believe there's a lot of gray, and you're choosing to only see black or white. And there's so many shades of gray in between to oversimplify the world as one being better than the other or being preferable. I have to judge each one individually. I can't just do that. Not me. What's up? Are you telling me it's time to wrap up? Yeah? Well, the cat has come in and is calling it. So based on that, listen, it's been enjoyable hanging out with everybody today on this sort of last minute stream. Go ahead, download your Unreal Tournament. Have fun. It's free. It's legal. There's no issues. Get those muscle memory skills back and enjoy it. You don't need a high-end expensive computer, and you don't need more RAM than you already have. You don't need more storage. It's not that big of a deal. It'll cost you nothing, and have fun, and you're not breaking any laws. Everything's cool. Everything's good. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. A super shout out for all of our members who make it possible for these videos, as we talked about earlier. Speaking of which, there, Ledman70, now a member for 45 months. That's amazing. After your suggestion, he says in a comment, in a recent video, I found 2 Amazon Basics Ethernet adapters. Oh, the USB to Ethernet adapters, these guys, but Amazon Basics brand. He found them returned. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them returned. There's nothing to break. So anyway, he got one USB-C and one that's USB-A. His total was $17. Yeah, you got a good deal. And they never go bad. You don't have like, it's not like a battery. It's not consumable. And there's no reason to not buy one of those used. Why not? It's the difference in the packaging, I guess, that goes in the trash. Yeah. I mean, you didn't save enough to like pay the electric bill at the end of the month, but it adds up. Good for you. Also, a shout out to our friend Frankie B with that very generous Amazon gift card earlier. Thank you, Frankie. And if there's anything we can do to help any of you, you're always welcome to reach out to our email address. I'm going to put that up here on the screen. And you reach out to us if you have a technical issue you need help with, or you have an idea for a video that that's up our alley. That's what we do. I mean, I'm open to ideas. I've thought of a lot of the suggestions that come in. I have to explain to people, yeah, we thought of that, or we tried that. But I don't want to discourage you from offering, because I mean, until you present it, I don't know if I thought of it or not. So who knows? I mean, we might have your idea as our next content, sort of like a DJ playing requests if it's music we play. But other than that, if you have any other experiences you want to share with us with products, you got that new Minis Forum 125, you're brand new, you're hooking it up. You want to share your thoughts, positive or negative. We just ask that they are your thoughts, not somebody else's. If somebody else wants to tell us their thoughts, please allow them to do so. We don't want you speaking on their behalf. They have the ability, if they choose to, and if they choose not to, it's not your choice to make for them, right? So just common courtesy and respect. And we want to know the source of the information. And we know if it's coming from one of our viewers and you want to share a real experience, we love that. That's genuine. So we appreciate that. And that's how you can reach us. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. Thanks again to Mara for all the work she does in the background, especially when I hit her up for a last minute video and she's not prepped for it. So she has to slap together a thumbnail and title in the last minute. You know, she has to stop everything she's doing because I decided I'm going live. I think she said something under her breath, but I couldn't quite make it out. I'm sure it was all positive. And thanks to each and every one of you for hanging out today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We'll be back live to continue part 2 of the review on the Camry at 1 o'clock tomorrow, our usual time in Phoenix. That's 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. That will change here in the next week or two whenever daylight saving time we don't, here in Phoenix, we don't do daylight saving time, ever, never, ever. But when California does, and well, pretty much everybody else, your clock will change, but mine won't. So you may notice a difference in the start time after daylight saving time. But I'll remind you of it when we get closer. Thank you again. We'll see you all very, very soon, hopefully tomorrow. And until then, bye for now.